Hello, everyone. Welcome to another How We Felt About. It's me, Captain Logan, and to my right we got Jason.
Wow.
And we've also got Connor Nielsen.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up, buddy? We're gonna do a double feature tonight. It's How We Felt About what we talking about: Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and John Wick 4. Two really similar movies. You know, it's always cool when we can line them up like this, where they've got so much in common, a lot of interesting parallels, and they're both sequels. And
2, 4, those are even numbers.
Yeah,
so.
those are even numbers. Yeah. There's other hilarious, kind of ironic similarities that I can't talk about yet because I'd be giving away things if I did that. So I'm not gonna mention anything particularly having to do with endings, but we'll get there. Anyway, Jason hasn't seen John Wick 4 yet, so because he hasn't seen 2 and 3 either. So you're not gonna hear what he has to say about that because he's not feeling anything yet.
I'm going to leave. We should put a thing on the feeling it signs. We should have like a 3-sided one. I don't know how you would do that, but like.
Sorry about them.
I'm feeling it, not feeling it. I haven't feeled it yet.
I haven't feeled it yet. Yeah, exactly. So, if people are wondering why we're starting with Shazam 2, it's because Jason is only going to talk about that one with us tonight, and because he's got to go to bed right after. So, let's start there. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, another DC Universe movie that feels like it's 10 years old before it even comes out. Like, it got thrown in a drawer, they forgot to release it. No, yeah, here it comes. It's another movie that was kind of... I mean, in this case, it was dead on arrival because people didn't go see it, but a lot of these DC movies have felt like, I keep saying this, relics of the distant past, and everything about this is odd and strange. Really, everything in it coming out after the announcement for the new DC slate, and there's a huge question about why this isn't performing. A lot of people are blaming it on the fact that it's irrelevant now and doesn't matter. We'll see how Aquaman performs in December. Flash, I think, is kind of safe because we can sort of pretend like that's a soft reboot into what Gunn is doing. Even Gunn is kind of pretending that was clearly, not the plan with that in the first place and couldn't possibly have been. But I think the bigger problem with it is simply that, the first Shazam didn't actually perform, in my mind, well enough to warrant a sequel. I think we're very much in like a Ninja Turtles 2014 place, where you had a movie that came out and enough people saw it that they thought maybe we could squeeze a little bit of money out of a second movie, and that second movie came out and nobody cared, Out of the Shadows. It would be sort of like if Out of the Shadows came out and then there was an announcement of a Ninja Turtles reboot a month and a half before it came out, and the people went, oh no, it must have been because of that announcement. Nah, nobody cared in the first place, is what I'm thinking. And maybe it would have done better a couple of years ago, but it's been 4 years since that movie came out, and it's about a child who turns into a man. Like, the kids that might have been into that first movie have already graduated from high school. Like, so I wanted to put that argument to bed for a second. I was thinking about making a whole video about that, and the more I'm thinking about it, I don't think it really warrants it. I think it's kind of clear why this didn't perform. There wasn't that much interest in the first place. How many people have you heard talk about that first movie since they saw it?
Not a lot.
Right?
Yeah, that does make sense.
You guys don't want to talk about it now.
Why did they? Yeah. Why did they make it though? Then, like, if they're not getting any money from it,
it's like it just barely does well enough to maybe warrant a franchise. What's your theory on that, Connor? Because it barely made its money back.
This movie is one of the more unfortunate sequels to kind of get hit by the COVID stick.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the big one is like Black Panther, but like that's actually not COVID. That's cancer. But like so I guess maybe COVID affected this. Maybe specifically a COVID case of this, where I think I really like the first Shazam movie. I saw it 3 times in the theaters.
Did you really?
I did.
Hey Connor, I'm sorry. Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Are you using the right microphone right now, or are you having to use a not as great mic for some reason? Or
hold on. Let me.
I can't tell if you're going through your Yeti or not. It might just be that you're in kind of a hollow room. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
There you go. I'm glad I said something.
Thank you. Yeah.
You just sounded like you were in a bathroom, and I thought you might not want to sound like that for the next hour and a half.
I would definitely prefer that. Thank you.
Oh, but now it's being all buzzy.
Oh,
It's doing that buzzy thing.
Oh, no.
We're just having all kinds of problems here.
Hold up.
Pardon us, everybody.
This is very entertaining.
I know. Okay. I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but hopefully he's able to.
How do I sound now?
It's still all crackly.
Okay.
Maybe switch back to what you had for at least right now, because we can at least hear you without the crackle. Release the crackle.
Okay, how do I sound now?
Same as before, without the crackle, because it's the other mic now.
Okay, well, sorry guys, I'm gonna be coming from the restroom today.
Yeah, it's all right, no problem. Anyway, what were you saying?
Well, okay, so I really like the first Shazam movie. At least I did in 2019 when I watched it. I saw it 3 times. I think I paid all 3 times to see it too. Like, and it kept showing, like, new people.
I didn't even sneak in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the theater I used to work at. I know sometimes people would like just let me walk in.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So, anyways, so the COVID kind of element is interesting because, like, I remember after that first movie came out, it didn't do super well at the box office, but it got really good reviews and people seemed to like it. I liked it, and when I show people, they liked it.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing stories about them fast tracking a sequel, and then COVID happens, and then I remember that first fandom, like they are kind of coming out and saying, "Hey, look it, we're doing it," and it's like, well. It was awkward because, like, well, now, like, there's a delay in the production. They've already spent the money on developing it. Apparently, Sinbad was supposed to be in it, and then
I didn't know that.
At the fandom, like, the fandom poster has Sinbad on the poster, and then I guess he drops out. I don't know how much of that was supposed to be a gag. I don't know how much of the story is getting reworked throughout this. And it's very clear that they had to come up with a story as fast as possible, and then they were stuck with it. And then they had to wait for their children to grow up. And then it's obvious that they see their children as awkward teenagers now. So they're just superheroes the whole time. They're barely children.
Yeah,
and like
they don't switch back and forth very much.
Yeah. Anyway, so
except for Freddy, who stays in regular, kid form most of the time, and weirdly is the only one that doesn't seem to have aged. He looks exactly the same to me.
I think that might be the reason. And,
yeah.
The actress who plays Mary is obviously, like, she looks like a woman in her mid-20s now. And so she plays the superhero version of herself and the kid version of herself. And, like,
did she do that in the first one, too?
No.
I didn't think so. No, and I just watched that again, but in the theater, I was kind of second guessing myself, where I was like, wait a minute. And then you have kind of question of, like, how old does the kid version have to get before they no longer have to look like an older version of themselves when they switch? Because you'd think that, like, the kid, like Billy Batson himself, about to be 18, wouldn't need to anymore, but then he still looks like he's twice his own age when he turns into the. It's a mess, right?
I mean, I'm thinking about it too, where it's just like, I mean, Zachary Levi looks so much older in this movie than he did
before. One. Yeah,
and like Asher Angel is like almost as tall as him. So
probably because he's having to work out so hard to play the part.
Maybe, but like
probably aged him.
The kid playing Billy Batson is almost as tall as Zachary Levi is now, so it's just awkward when he has a Shazam and it's like he's the same height. It's like there's not that big transformation.
Yeah, it's true. Shazam! And you're like, oh, all right.
You wear a muscle suit now and you look like 50. Okay, so
it'd be like if Justin from Power Rangers Turbo. By the way, this is just a Power Rangers movie. I gotta throw that out there because I'll be making that point a lot. But like, it'd be like if Justin in Power Rangers Turbo, if they did a second season of Turbo and he had this huge like growth spurt in between, and so you no longer had to do the effect where he grows when he morphs anymore. It's exactly like that.
It's like if that I can't remember what that guy's name is, but if he came back. And like
now he's an MMA fighter. Yeah, because the kid that played Justin in Turbo is an MMA fighter now.
Yeah,
he got tattoos everywhere.
And there's no reason for him to like go unless he's like really tall, like
Now he's a 7-foot Power Ranger.
8-foot Power Ranger.
Exactly.
And my reasoning for why this flopped is because it looked bad. I really like that first Shazam movie, but I was not into the trailers, and I waited till the third weekend to watch it, and
Yep.
I watched it because we
So
were
did we.
doing it. So-
Yeah, we went today. Okay, well, that's a really good point, though, when you're saying, like, you enjoyed the first one. Maybe if a cool-looking sequel had come out, even now, you'd be like, oh, yay, and you'd rush out to see it. I don't think we can possibly know, even if the trailers looked great, how well this does at the box office. You know what I mean? Because and the other thing I forgot to mention earlier too, and we'll review the movie. I don't want to just talk about box office with this, of course, but a lot of people are going to think that's the most interesting conversation to have about this. I'm seeing a lot of people in our live comments right now saying I didn't even bother to see it, and Connor trying to figure out his mic was more entertaining than the movie for folks that did see it. People are saying, I think that's hyperbolic, but. We'll get into it here in a minute, but we also have to talk about the Black Adam in the room, of course, because there's people are probably also, and maybe Warner's even, blaming that on, to some degree, for this not performing very well. I feel like that's sort of like blaming Solo for the success, for the lack of success of other Star Wars movies, though. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like it may have a little bit to do with that, but given the fact that for like. This is such a niche group, right? For any diehard comic fans that are like, oh, your Black Adam movie didn't have anything to do with your Shazam movie, and your Black Adam movie sucked, so I'm not seeing Shazam. How many people went to Black Adam didn't even know it had anything to do with Shazam? And vice versa, right? I mean, there's like separate franchises that are barely connected in any way, except like who guy from Guardians is playing the wizard in both of them. Like that's it, and he's there for 6 seconds. Which is hilarious because he's all over this movie. He does not leave the screen.
That's true. And I see, like, when it comes to like the first Shazam movie, I wasn't watching the first Shazam movie thinking, "Oh man, I can't wait till they introduce Black Adam."
No, neither was I.
I wasn't. And so when like them doing a solo Black Adam movie, I was fine with them doing that, and them not having any cross pollination is, I mean,
it's
a little
still
weird.
Yeah,
it's a little weird, but like I guess I'm cool with that because like from where I'm sitting, I know of like Black Adam as kind of a separate entity from Shazam. Like as far as like in 52, like the weekly series, like Black Adam was like really developed as his own thing, and so I kind of started reading comics in the wake of that. And so like to me, like I can see how they're separate and why they would want to do that. Having like no reference to Billy Batson or anything whatsoever in Black Adam is weird. But
almost putting them out in the same year is also weird.
And so close together, yeah. Like and then when it comes to like a sequel, like they teased Mr. Mind at the end of the last one. I wanted to see a weird talking caterpillar, and we got not that. And what they did were showing us in the trailers. I found that not as like interesting or weird and compelling as like a talking caterpillar. So
yeah. No, it feels like a Wonder Woman movie without Wonder Woman.
Yes, that's a good call.
In the trailers and in the film, and we'll get to other Greek mythology stuff they're doing with this. I don't want to spoil anything yet, but it felt more like a Wonder Woman plot, and I felt like the main the older lady got in this, Helen Mirren. She felt like a Wonder Woman villain to me. And I mean, I guess she also could be because these are Greek gods that, like, if you used that character, in a Wonder Woman thing, it would also be a Shazam character. You know what I mean? By extension, if you're doing Greek mythology stuff. But, like, I don't know. I'm going to show my hand too much when I say this, but I thought she was the best part, and I thought that she would have made a great Wonder Woman villain if only we'd had, like, a cool Wonder Woman script. And they gave her, like better material, but like she was shooting at Syria and stuff. Like I thought she was pretty good. And the whole movie I kept going, I kind of wish this was just a Wonder Woman movie with a little bit of better writing and took itself a little more seriously.
And the movie apparently also wishes that too.
Yes, it does. But anyway,
so. How do we want to do this? We've talked about it a little bit. Do I give a plot description of it, or
yeah, go ahead and give us. I was going to have you do that if you don't mind. Yeah, just give us a real quick kind of setup for the movie. Just like 3-5 sentences. What's the basic premise, and then we'll go to Jason first if that's cool, in case he wants to run off before we're even finished with the Shazam portion. Go ahead.
So Shazam, The Gods Must Be Crazy is a sequel to the 2019 film Shazam. It is also directed by David F. Sandberg, stars Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Grace Caroline Curry, Jack Dylan Glazer, I believe is the guy's name, and a lot of other people, Jaimin Hansu included, Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, Rachel Ziegler. So it follows the Shazam family. They have powers. They still live in a foster home, but now that they all have powers, Billy has anxiety about them not being a team. And as this is happening, the Daughters of Atlas show up to reclaim the magic staff from the first one because they were in some isolated god realm and now they are out and they want to basically just get the staff. That seems to be the starting place, and then it grows into something more world conquering and sinister. Also, there's a dragon. Jason, how did you feel about Shazam? The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Exclamation point. Yeah, that's a good title. I honestly, I wanted to call it Power Rangers Shazam Force or no, sorry, Shazam Fury, and then just leave off of the gods, right? Because we've had 2 Power Ranger series with the word Fury in them. You've got Dino Fury, which is the most recent one, and then before that is Jungle Fury. Yeah,
Shazam Jungle Fury.
Power Rangers Shazam Fury. There you go. We're gonna make all kinds of Power Ranger references. We can't help it. They've all got different colors. There are 6 of them. They basically morph, and the villain plot is basically a Power Ranger villain plot. And Helen Mirren is one of the best Power Rangers villains who's not a Power Rangers villain.
And it's directed like a Power Rangers movie. It's kind of directed like 2017.
I think in some places it's even directed like the first week. So this is minor spoiler. Remember the part with the guy that Lucy Liu speaks in his ear, and then he jumps off the bit, leap to our doom, like right out of the 95 Power Ranger movie. Like that's a plot point. It's like it's crazy how much Power Rangers is in this. And I know I go to this all the time, but this is probably the best Power Rangers movie we've had. If it was a Power Rangers movie, I've said that about some other things, but if you just change the title, but this is the closest that I could just straight up say is a Power. Their lair looks like a Power Rangers lair. Like I didn't think of that with the first movie, but the Rock of Eternity, especially when they basically make it like a Ninja Turtles lair and they start adding like TVs and candy and chips and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like the Jungle Fury lair.
And with the little Dino Thunder in it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pardon me, non-Power Rangers fans. This is just Power Rangers movie.
I thought the Shazam Zord was pretty cool. But Jason, what did you think of?
And imagine if you did a Zordon plot where he got like out of the tube, but then he got imprisoned and he didn't have his powers anymore. And he had to like just run around with some kid trying to find his powers again. Like, yeah. Anyway, Jason, how'd you feel about Power Rangers Shazam Force?
So, this movie is wacky. I think the best part of it is just that I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure that they're making fun of themselves, and they know that this movie is stupid, and the script is weird, and
I think you're giving it too much credit when you say that, but it's immediately better if that's what's happening.
And I like how, I actually like the plot this time. Like, this is one of the few movies where, and I had this with the first Shazam too, where this is one of the few movies where I actually like that the main character is stupid.
Okay.
Because, I've watched some things lately where the main character's stupid, and I'm like, stop! Do this thing instead, because it's obvious. But this time is.
So you're saying at least the movie knows that he's not real intelligent,
and it just I don't know. I like that. That's probably my favorite part. But my least favorite part, I don't know. It's just really dumb movie, and it goes to some weird places. I think it's worth watching once.
Just because you won't even believe how nuts it gets?
It is worth watching once, and it is definitely better than what I thought in the trailers. I'm gonna go with red, but
you can't do that
think
third
it's-
sign. You have seen this.
Yeah, but I think it's worth watching once. But it's not great. It
Okay.
was kind of meh for me.
When after Connor and I do our sign flips, we'll of course do a little bit of spoilers, and we'll let Jason talk about the really nuts and the nutso insane things he actually liked in this movie. We won't have him give examples of that yet. Connor, how'd you feel about this movie, sir?
I am so glad I waited till the day before to watch this, because most of this has left my brain. In the time since I watched this,
Did we both watch it this afternoon?
I watched it yesterday.
Oh, okay. We saw it 5 hours ago. Yeah, we just saw it.
I watched. So in the time since I've watched this, I went shopping. I got a new belt. I went to a rave last night. And then today I went to like a 4-hour dancing event, which is why I'm like dressed up the way I am.
Yeah, you look snazzy, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's not for the John Wick, but that's a nice, side effect.
It's true.
But like,
that's true.
I am gonna remember every detail more than watching this movie. I'm gonna remember buying my belt more than watching this movie. Like I hated this. Like this was, I think, worse than Black Adam. You can pinpoint the moment where I'm like, I would rather be watching Black Adam right now. I was so unengaged by this movie that there was a point where like the row of people would not stop talking behind me during like some dramatic scene. Like I could not hear what they were saying on the screen because people were just kept talking behind me. There were these teenagers up front, like goofing around, like taking pictures with the flash on, and I didn't care. I was like, yeah, I whatever.
The rules have changed.
The rules of like I have no standards right now. Like I don't want to be here, and so anything to distract me from this movie would be okay. If I had to give this thing a best thing, I think
Connor's gonna message me later and insist that I cut him a check for forcing him to watch this movie.
I think that there is more effort put into the dynamic of the villains than, like Black Adam, for example. I think Black Adam has probably the worst like superhero movie villain ever. Like I hate that villain. And then this one,
I can't even remember right now in the
I don't
moment what the
even
villain in that movie
remember
is.
what that villain is.
What is that
He turns into a
villain?
demon. He turns into a demon at the end.
Oh, he's the guy. Oh,
It's
Yeah.
still not coming to me. That's how little of that movie is sticking
But,
with me.
But like,
Oh, I remember there's a big fight in a bedroom and that pissed me off, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
yeah, but then it's like, so like, there is some interesting dynamic between like Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren and Rachel Zegler, and how like they have different perspectives. They're sisters, so they're all like a team together. But then like Helen Mirren has different ambitions than Lucy Liu. Like, there's more thought put into that kind of dynamic where like the villains aren't just a cabal of witches that all like snicker and like, rub their hands together in agreement. Like it's more than that, and so I appreciated that.
And the actresses are definitely upping the material, right? Like what they're doing is better than what's on the page, I think.
I mean, it was like shocking that they got actresses of that caliber.
Oh, yeah, I
Where,
thought
like,
so too.
I was looking at Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren and thinking like, I don't believe that they're in this movie. Like, I don't believe it. Like Rachel Zegler, she was in the West Side Story remake, and she's wonderful in that movie. She's an actress that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. And like this kind of was one of those, yeah, you got suckered into doing one of these movies. My heart goes out to you, girl, but
yeah, but like, what is Lucy Liu doing here? It's crazy.
I have no idea, and like, but the worst thing, I don't even know where to begin. I'll just say this movie looks horrible.
Yep.
Like, it looks so bad. I think if you look at the first movie, that movie is just crammed to the bits with really fun little ideas. I think the first Shazam movie has one of the best superhero costumes of any movie. It looks right off the page, first of all, but also it does kind of look like a muscle suit. Like it looks like a body that's a little too big for Zachary Levi. And what I like about that choice is that while you're looking at Zachary Levi in this Shazam suit, you're aware that it's a man in a body that's too big for him. That's what Billy Batson is.
Yeah.
He's a boy in a man's body. It's like the super suit is reflective of that in a way that doesn't, it's not over exaggerated. It doesn't break the reality of the movie. And there's a lot of stuff in that movie like that.
But it also tells you that it's not that interested in realism, and that really helps translate that kind of material.
Exactly. This movie has none of that. I think the super suits are ugly. I think the colors are drab and garish and ugly. I think that the CGI and green screen stuff is just really bad. There's some of that like volume set stuff too that I'm really over that. I thought that like, yeah, I could not deal with looking at it, and there are a lot of story issues that I want to get into, but you know, if I can remember them.
Yeah.
But this was all over the place for me, and I felt really bad for the filmmaker. I felt really bad for everyone involved because it did feel like, it felt kind of like Jurassic Park 2, where like after the success of the first one, there was like I think, doesn't Spielberg talk about how after made the first Jurassic Park, he had a passion and an excitement to make a second one, and then once they got to making the second one, he was like, I actually don't want to make a second one. And it was kind of an awkward situation for him because it's like the idea of a second one was more compelling than actually telling a second story. And I think that's what probably happened here. But anyways, that's just kind of a...
I feel like the difference is this feels like the situation has changed too much, where if only they could have made it right away and they weren't affected by COVID, you probably have a better movie and a better story. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's more of circumstantial problems than it is like concept and premise issues, because I think the, not to talk too much about this, but I think the issue with Spielberg was kind of more, oh wait, is there even a story in a sequel to Jurassic Park? And with this, it was like, that was clearly a franchise starter in the first place. Like, yes, you could certainly tell more stories with Shazam, but the problem is what you made, and it sounds like you like that movie better than I do, and I liked it fine in the theater, and I just had the worst watch of it I've had yesterday before going to see it in the theater. I don't remember the effects being as bad as they are. They don't look that far away from what's in this, and it looks pretty bad here. But like, I feel like that's a TV pilot before it's anything. And it's sort of like a TV pilot that stands fine on its own, and it's a little bit risky in seeing if an audience is really going to want very much more of that, but really watches like a TV pilot. Like, it's sort of like Spider-Man Homecoming, where it needs a sequel stat right away because it's it's kind of time sensitive.
Yeah.
You know, you need to get those actors back in those roles 5 minutes from then.
Well, I'd say the reason why I felt that way about this movie in terms of like the filmmakers and people like not really knowing what to do with the sequel is that like, why did you tell this story? Like it feels like a very rote, like generic fantasy thing. I don't know who came up with the idea, like who thought to put this together. Like I don't, if I had to wager a guess, I think David F. Sandberg was just kind of hired to do the first one after it had been in development for a while. And maybe they just hired someone to come up with another story. Like maybe it's like people on the higher up at DC are like coming up with the story for a second one. Like I don't know.
It's real uninspired. There's not anything that first movie that's setting it up, and it's very strange, like you said, that you've got a villain that you're establishing in an after credit scene that you're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything about this choice is fishy.
Yeah, so I don't get it. And then of course the COVID stuff just certainly didn't help things. It kind of, and then you also have Zachary Levi just completely flanderizing this role. But like I think there is a little disconnect between Zachary Levi and Asher Angel in the first one, where they don't quite feel like the same person.
Oh, I think there's more than a little bit of a disconnect. I think that's one of its biggest problems.
Well, I remember it's actually funny. You and Eric, I actually remember this because your best thing in that at the time was that you thought they were like the same guy, and his worst thing was he never thought that they were the same guy.
I don't know what I was talking about because I just watched it yesterday, and it doesn't work at all. Like, yeah, I can be wrong sometimes. I don't know. Like, and maybe I was at the time somewhat blinded because I like Zachary Levi in TV stuff, but no, I don't think. I was talking to Austin about this, and he used the right word about it. Levi does not have the pathos that the kid has.
Exactly.
And that was the experience I was having with it yesterday.
Well, and it's one of those things though where it's like in the first one, I can like at least like imagine that guy like if he because he just lives crummy life, and it's like once you kind of give him the wish fulfillment, like I could like on some level imagine that kid acting this way and reading these lines. In this one, I do not have that. Like he is like it's like when he turns into Shazam, he loses 50 IQ points. Like he's like a complete buffoon.
And
Like
they make that almost a plot point in this where they acknowledge it, and that makes it worse because there's no explanation for it. And he basically is supposed to have a power that he doesn't have, and there's no explanation for why, with the Wisdom of Solomon thing. And that minor spoiler, but again, that's a thing, and I agree with that. That's the thing that Austin's always complained about with that first movie is, well, he's supposed to have the Wisdom of Solomon. Where is that? Whenever he turns into Shazam, he seems like more of a kid. Why is that? And in this, they come out and they address that. And they're like, oh, for some reason, it's like you're missing that power. Maybe you'll develop it later. You'll develop it later. It almost felt like a Smallville thing, you know? It almost felt like the no tights, no flights thing, where like he can't fly because it's in the series Bible that he can't. And here it's almost like Zachary Levi's decided that he's going to be stupid. That's the way he's playing it. Although I think he was hired to play it that way. Like I think that's why they went to Levi. And I'm not calling Levi an idiot or anything. I like him a lot in Shock. And
Kaplan's kind of dope.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's he's playing his type there. You know, he's kind of typecast for that. So that's obviously what they wanted. I mean, like we know that the whole plan with that first movie was to make big with the superhero. That was kind of the gimmick, and that doesn't really work with Captain Marvel off the page. So like if you're a real big Shazam Captain Marvel fan, you're probably not going to appreciate that. And they take it even more to the nines in this one, which is a problem because he's almost 18. Can I use that to segue into my best thing, worst thing real quick?
Go for it. Go
sign flip. My best thing, like I said, is Helen Mirren. I think she is really elevating the material, and I think she is... she's kind of chewing the scenery. She's got a lot of these real kind of like Shakespearean soliloquies that she is delivering pretty effortlessly. Like I feel like she's playing it like she's on the stage. I don't know very much about her. She's got to be stage trained. There's no way she's not. Just look at that performance. She's got to be. And she's kind of coming in like the material is way better than it is. And when she's on the screen, I have to kind of remind myself what I'm watching. Like occasionally they'll give her a line where I'm like, that's even rough even for her to say. But she's got the like TNG Patrick Stewart thing where like no matter how stupid the lines are, I'm really buying her performance. And I guess I like. I don't want to spoil it yet, so I won't talk about that. Pardon me, but nobody's gonna care. Nobody's watching this movie. But she's not. I'll just say she's not flat out evil. That ultimately ends up being the Lucy Liu character, who I thought was kind of underdeveloped and half baked. And we kind of just give each of them a prevailing character trait, but we made Helen Mirren's character kind of the most well-rounded of them. And I thought she played the. When she's allowed to be a little bit more reasonable, I feel like she plays that really well. I don't know. I liked her a lot. I just wanted her in a Wonder Woman movie. And my worst thing is Zachary Levi is 9 years old, and he was 9 years old in the first movie, and now his counterpart is about to graduate high school, and I'm like, why does he talk like this? Why? Like I didn't know 17-year-olds that talked like that when I was 17. You know, it's weird. And like I thought he was playing too young in the first one, and he's got a child counterpart who's playing it like more mature than he is. And like you said, he doesn't just lose 50 IQ points, he loses like 5 years. Mm-hmm. He's just a little kid. And Zachary Levi has talked about how much fun it is to just kind of play himself but less mature, and I'm like, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that's maybe what he was hired for and why in what he was asked to do, but like, why is the kid actor so much better than he is? I don't understand that. I don't know what the hell I was talking about, 4 years ago when that came out, because I was wrong, if that's what I said. I don't know. I don't really remember what my review was back then. that kid's got a little pathos. I think he's like the perfect Billy Batson. He didn't get any screen time this time because he's too old, and they've got to simultaneously age him up and talk about how much older he is and still pretend like he's the age he was last time so that Zachary Levi doesn't have to have any growth whatsoever. And when he's in the dramatic scenes, I'm not buying his performance overall anyway, and he's having to kind of play catch up, and now he's starting to sort of take things seriously, and it's sort of like a little kid Deadpool, and it just doesn't work. And it's way worse this time because I don't get because at least maybe what duped me last time, I forget his name, was the kid's performance, because he gets like, I don't want to say equal screen time, but close enough to equal screen time that like maybe that performance was what was really taking me through it. I felt like there were places here where it was like having to contrive reasons to not have him morph back to the kid. There were all kinds of places where he should have been the kid.
Yes, and I think it just has to be some kind of like COVID production thing where I don't know what child labor laws are like. The little Asian kid, like he's grown up into a really awkward actor. Like his voice is like really weird sounding. I'm like, that's probably why they just have him as an adult the entire time.
Yeah,
he has like 2 lines of dialogue as a kid. Like it's really weird.
It's really weird. Anyway, yeah, I'm not feeling it. I was more entertained than I probably should have been because of some of the just really whacked out, I don't understand why we're even here, or like why we're doing this kind of stuff. This felt like it's so odd that they did this, Connor. It feels like Amazing Spider-Man 2 in just how bat stuff crazy it gets. Like,
yeah, no, I think the final act of this movie represents one of the biggest.
But it lost me before that movie did.
It has one of the biggest drops in quality in Act 3. Like,
Yep.
And it was already not good, but like,
right.
I was like shocked. Here's what it felt like to me. To the kind of like, it ties into like a humor thing with this movie, where it has like this self-aware humor that doesn't work for me, and it's not like Deadpool. It's more like Scream, where like it is kind of like towing the line with the fourth wall without breaking it, and it felt less like the identity of the movie and more like, man, we know we're making something that's not really good. Let's just go for anything. And like they're really going for the yucks, and that's what like Zachary Levi's doing. They're really like, it felt desperate to me, and like that's what I get.
And then it's insulting when it makes you try to take it seriously.
Oh yeah, I'm checked out with that stuff. But what you guys want to get into spoilers? I want to hear what you guys talk about the wacky stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So spoiler alert, everybody.
Especially just like watching you guys talk about it more and just thinking about it more definitely makes me not like it as much as I did coming out of the theater. Like, I think I liked it more than both of you guys.
Levi called it objectively better than the first one, and that is objectively wrong. He's just wrong. And
you are correct.
And you know what? Sorry. People keep making fun of him for like, you know, kind of crying about how this movie hasn't been doing very well, and like fighting with Dwayne Johnson on Discord on Twitter and stuff. And I don't that'd be great. I don't want to get into all of that too much, but he's made me lose a little bit of a little bit of appreciation for him, because I don't know, I just feel like he's playing an immature character and he's acting kind of like that himself. Like I feel like he's kind of let that character almost affect the way he's interacting with the public too much or something. He went to Comic-Con and he called it some comic convention, whatever the most recent big one was, and he said that it was objectively better than the first movie, and I lost some respect when he said that, even more than just the like almost almost crying in almost physically crying in interviews and trying to get people to see this over John Wick 4 and all that. And I was like, you really need to just stop talking. Like, you're going to make people not want to hire you in the future for movies. Like, you need to just quit talking. But where I really lost some respect for him is when he said that, because I couldn't help but think, you know, maybe he's just saying that because he got all the dramatic stuff to do this time. Like he got all the screen time this time. He's like, look at my great performance, and I'm like, yeah, you did the same thing you did last time, except you had a dopey, typical self-sacrifice this time. And they kind of regret. This isn't his fault. They kind of regress his character too, because he's all worried that his foster family isn't going to accept him anymore and want him around after he ages out of the foster home. When the ending of, maybe it works better if you haven't seen that movie in 4 years, but the ending of the first Shazam movie is, I'm home now. Like, this is my family. I finally found my family. I don't need my mom who didn't care about me anymore. And this opens just right back to where it was before. It's like I didn't buy that insecurity at all. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take over again, Jason.
Yeah. So I feel like the problem with this movie is the first half, or the first 2 acts are the first scene is pretty good. And then the first, 2 acts are just kind of just okay and boring and forgetful. And then the third act is just insane. And it's just what?
What's insane in it?
Well, I mean, you get... Where am I gonna start? You get, unicorns that like Skittles. You got, you get Zachary Levi dying for 5 seconds, and then Wonder Woman coming in for no reason and not talking for 5 minutes, and then talking, and it's the worst thing ever. And yeah,
I love that they don't give her any dialogue for the first 3 minutes she's in that scene. She just stands there. I'm like, they might as well cut her head off like they did in the dream sequence. And they surprised her so much they actually got a cameo from Gal Gadot. And I'm like, it could have been a cardboard cutout. You wouldn't have known.
Dude, I saw some Facebook thing that was like, did you know Zachary Levi and Gal Gadot didn't even see each other on the set of Shazam? Like, yeah. No, trust me, it's obvious. And especially in the post-credit scene where the Peacemaker characters show up, I was like, oh, they're not in the same scene with Zachary Levi, because it keeps doing the reverse shot where you see somebody's elbow out of focus to give
yeah, it's Rise of Skywalker, except all these actors are alive.
I know, it's insane.
Can you think of any other insane things?
Did you like the part where Rachel Ziegler is getting shot at by a magical staff, and then she rearranges everything to get herself distance?
Yeah.
And she just stands there and is like,
I know.
What?
Move! Get out of the way!
What?
And we're kind of ripping off everything MCU in this movie, right? I just kind of had this thought, she's got that power where she can rearrange buildings and stuff. I guess it doesn't affect anybody inside or the Foundation or anything. I don't know what the magic is that's doing that, but it's just Doctor Strange.
It's just Doctor Strange.
And you know what? I didn't have this as much with the first movie. Maybe people did. This was an Ant-Man movie, all the way down to the theme is the same. I don't know if it has the same theme as the first movie. I didn't even really notice that, but I was listening to the music closer, and I was like, the theme with this movie sounds suspiciously like the Ant-Man theme. It's really weird. And they've got a van at the end that honks when it shows up, it's an Ant-Man movie.
And the characters are kind of stupid.
Like an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
And they're making fun of the fact they've got kind of a B-list, C-list superhero.
Oh, there's
the
name gag.
The first one, and the stupid name gag. Oh, don't get me started on the name
gag.
So you're telling me. At
least it's not Black Adam.
Yeah.
What about Black Adam?
Where at the end he's like, "Well, what's my name?" Boom.
I want to go in and do an edit where he says that, and then Sorry, I just thought of this.
And then it's the
Lion King logo.
That's what I was thinking too.
That's my favorite. The Lion King.
That'd be great.
I'm gonna make that. Anyway, so you're telling me that it is not breaking intellectual copyright to, like, you're not gonna get sued by having a one-off gag where somebody suggests he should be called Captain Marvel, but he can't, in one scene at the end, call himself Captain Marvel. I mean, I get that if they think they're going to make a third movie, they can't stick with that. They can't put it on merchandise and stuff. But that makes it so much more awkward. Just don't draw any more attention to it. Like, I couldn't even believe they did that. I was like, why do you guys keep drawing attention to the biggest problems with your movie, and in some cases things that you can't really do anything about? You don't have a person call him Captain Marvel. That makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to the end, and it's like, oh no, this whole time you should have been calling yourself Shazam. He's like, I think we can do better than that. I'm like, shut up. Because when you make a third movie, you're still not going to be able to call yourself Captain Marvel, and you're going to go through this whole rigmarole again. And it also makes it feel like that problem that we have so much with superhero origin things, where even by the end of the second movie, the character doesn't feel like it's quite off the page, and the character is supposed to be, they're still in origin territory, they're still getting us there. Like, why is this a formula that we're forcing when we don't have to? He's been Shazam the whole time. He's never been allowed to call himself Captain Marvel, and none of these people can have Marvel in their name. I get that you're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't, because if you never draw any attention to the fact that they don't have superhero names, people are going to say, well, it's kind of weird they're just running around, they don't have superhero names. Why doesn't anybody mention anything about that? That's so much better, though, than making it a constant gag the way they've done it, I think.
Yeah, no, I think the gag works in the first movie. It's something you either get cured between movies, or you get it out of the way in the first scene of the second movie, and then you got it. And also, it's really weird. It's really weird when there's like the part where you have it's a cameo from the kid who played Billy Batson in the old Power of Shazam TV show, who calls him Captain Marvel, and he's like,
oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, he says it. It's like the way he phrases it is kind of awkward, because he's like, "You're the best, Captain Marvel." And it's like, I don't know if there's a comma in there or not.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I feel like it's supposed to be him saying I played Captain Marvel, and you're the best Captain Marvel. But it's just funny because,
or you're better than the one they have at Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why did he say it that way?
I actually kind of wish that was in the first movie, if it had to be there at all, because it was weird they both came out the same year.
Mm-hmm. And like a month apart.
I've never been able to get my mind around that. Like, both companies got their Captain Marvel movie out in the same month, and one couldn't call it Captain Marvel. You can't make this crap up.
No. Can I say the thing that I was like floored by in this movie? Towards the end. Well, okay. First of all, okay.
Go wherever you want to go. Yeah, absolutely.
So it is insane how Rachel Ziegler is basically like, I'm 6,000 years old. And then Jack Dylan Glazer's like, oh, that's weird. There's a huge age difference between us. And then they start holding hands and walk away. I'm like, what? It's so much worse that you just addressed it.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's another example, right? They keep addressing stuff.
And then later, it's like everyone's got a crush on Wonder Woman. Okay, haha, she's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But then it's like you have the foster mom, who's a very good-looking woman, saying, why do all of our children have interest in the older women? I'm like, why did you just make this character say that? No, don't do that, movie. It's just, it's ridiculous. I couldn't believe the movie went there.
Well, yeah, that kind of plays into Jason's point, I think, that maybe they know what they've got is not very good, and they're just steering into the skid. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I know that the director was super done and never wants to make another superhero movie, but I also don't know how much of that has to do with the way it's been released now versus the way it got made.
See, the director is like the opposite of what Zachary Levi's been doing, where he almost kind of realized they had a stinker on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Where after it came out and like it bombed, he's like, "I've had a hunch it was gonna be like this for a while now." Like that was his quote.
Yeah,
And
but see, behind the scenes, we don't know how much of the direction this ended up having to go. Like even premise and everything was out of his hands. And he sounds like he's not throwing the studio under the bus or anything, and he's, being mature about it and being professional. Take note, Ryan Johnson and any other director that likes to go to frickin' war with people on Twitter, like, just don't say anything. Like, stop that.
And I should say, I want to like just give my heart out to David F. Sandberg. I really like that guy. He seems like a cool dude. He's been posting shorts on YouTube forever. He really does have like, no pretensions about like his success. Like he has like imposter syndrome like bad.
Oh wow!
But he also
which is what the movie's about.
Yeah, and like maybe I don't know. Like I see where he tries putting a little bit of his own like stuff and his influences in. Like there is a sort of Sam Raimi-ish focus on the people quality to some of the stuff here.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Which I appreciate, but
there was some fun stuff on the bridge that was very Sam Raimi-esque.
Yeah, and like there's just so much like everything's so scattershot. It's like it's about someone trying to hold the family together, but in doing that he's making everyone go away from him. And it's like, okay, that I get he's maybe like dressed in his Shazam form as a way of like, trying to project a sign of like confidence and like wanting to, be strong, keep it all together. But like when you have the big scene where like the foster mom's like, I wanna see you, Billy. I want to see you before you go away. Like I need to see you. It's like we haven't had anything like that. I need to see like Billy struggling with keeping people together.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
like I don't have that when he's Zachary Levi. Anyway, so that's
because they don't feel like the same character. So you almost have to remind yourself that this is supposed to be this kid with this problem. But like I said earlier, and I don't know if you agree with this, Connor, but I'm not sure I completely by the dramatic situation in the first place. Like his internal conflict, I'm not sure I'm there with it. Like I get like worrying about people leaving you. That whole business is fine, where it's like he wishes Mary wouldn't go to college because he's afraid that he won't see her anymore, and that and that like everybody in his life abandons him, having an abandonment issue because of his mother. That whole thing makes sense. The whole I'm afraid my family doesn't want me anymore, I don't understand where that comes from.
I don't get it either, and we also don't spend enough time with his family to understand his anxiety about it.
Yeah, so there's like half that insecurity totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But you're right, we need to see the kid spend more time with his family. Also, there's just, I don't know, faulty premise with this in the first place. I don't understand why he's not, but I guess it breaks the story they're trying to tell, but then maybe you have to tell a different story if you can't get the situation to fit with it, right? You've got the Rock of Eternity. You can make any doorway you want to a portal to go there. This is the easiest team there's ever been for everyone to live anywhere in the world they want to and still come together as a superhero team. There's no reason they couldn't use the Rock of Eternity to still spend as much time as they wanted to with each other, the free time they had. This should not be really an issue of long distance relationships.
That's an excellent point. You even have a character whose whole thing is mapping the room of doors. Like,
I don't get that.
You're right.
Like this is not as big of a problem as he's pretending like, or as he's acting like it is. Now, if it's a time management issue, it's different. If it's like Mary doesn't have time for this, fine. But if it's she's going away and can't be Mary Marvel anymore, no, not really though. You totally could. You're basically Power Rangers again. Like the doors are like teleportation. You could live anywhere in the world you wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's right. And like Mutali brings up in the comments, and he's right. Like the movie addresses this thing where he's going to be aging out of the foster system, and he's kind of like worried about that. I promise it's just not brought up enough. Like Mary has to kind of like talk to him about it in one scene, and then he kind of has like a scene of like about it later. But that's all there really is to it. Like,
but again, it's still a faulty premise to me. The end of the last movie was, this is my family now. That shouldn't matter. And if he's just paranoid about it, you should be able to take care of that in a single scene at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, like, but I think it's more of a money thing where it's like, can they afford? Like, am I like hurting these people's charity? Like I'm making their lives like fiscally worse.
You're right. Then they don't talk about that part of it enough.
They don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
And it also sucks that the foster parents are more of just like spectator gag characters who are like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, and I really liked especially the father in the first movie. I thought he was great. He has that quality of like everybody wishes that was their dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, and the mom's good too, but that guy's performance, like it felt like he was drawn from something. Where like he seemed like a good dad.
He seemed like someone who might have like worked with like teens who had like who worked like a center or something. Like he has that quality.
Yeah, really down to earth, but like you know knows how to spin things positive, but not in like a sickening kind of way, and then still could put his foot down when he needs to. I like that he's really patient, but at the point where it's time to not be patient anymore, he just like. You know, in the first movie, he just goes to town on Billy, like, you can't do all this crazy crap. What is wrong with you? And I was like, oh, look, this guy has dimension. Like, he's not just, you know, modern parent, let a kid get away with anything. Like, the house didn't seem too perfect because that guy was at the helm of it. Yeah. And I loved that. And in this movie, all he gets to do is say, lightning keeps striking my house.
I did buy the house.
Yeah, and who... And like, oh, you guys were responsible for all the lightning crashes.
Yeah,
that was his big character arc was a revelation as to why that kept happening.
Yeah,
and I didn't buy that they could have kept their secret identities away from those parents as long as they did.
Yeah, me neither.
Have you ever met anyone who didn't know what Comic-Con was?
Not in this decade, sir. You know what? That's actually not a problem once you find out who she is. I didn't think of that because it was a god that said it. See, at first it's dumb because she's like, "What's Comic-Con?" And I'm like, maybe that's even. I'm probably giving the movie too much credit. Maybe that's actually supposed to be foreshadowing or something, because I looked at you and I was like, oh, they're doing that, like, she's a cute girl who's not into nerd stuff thing. She doesn't know what Comic-Con is, but effing everybody knows what Comic-Con is now. But she's God that just came over here. Why is she going to that school? How contrived and convenient is this whole thing? Where it's like, I loved her dynamic with Freddy initially. I really did. I was very into that story. I was like, oh, cool. He's got this romance, and I get excited about romance in general these days because I feel like we avoid it too much for no good reason. And he's charming, and it's not as irritating as it usually is when they're playing up like how socially awkward he is with her, and she's charmed by that. And then you find out that she is related to the villain plot and that she's a god, and I'm like, oh, now I don't care anymore. Because it's so easy that, like, he happens to be the person she fell for, and she didn't know that he was one of the Captain Marvels, and it sucks, man.
I think that character is really poorly written. Like, I think John Dylan Glazer does a good job playing Freddy. Like, he's really good in that role, and he plays that kind of annoying kid in a way that's endearing and not annoying.
It is endearing, yeah.
But like, so what I figured was happening was I'm like, okay, so she's a god and she actually knows he's a superhero and is trying to like trick him. It's a little typical, I guess, but like,
but that's not what was happening.
But what was happening was she just legitimately liked him so much, and I'm like, where's all of that compassion for this one person coming from? It felt a little too wish fulfillment-y.
Especially when your sisters see, especially Lucy Liu, see humans as like insects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does her perspective? And so then it comes off like this typical thing of just, well, she's the naive younger one.
But then at the end, they're like, "Oh, I'm 6,000 years old."
Well, see, her sisters are probably 8,000 and 10,000 years old, and so see, she's still the younger. It's dumb. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then what's the thing on the roof? where they do that real like 1930s, 1940s kind of superhero thing where it's like I'm gonna go get the superhero and then run off, and then the superhero shows up and you can't put together who they are even though you should be able to. We find out the thing that most takes me out about her being a god, where I mostly don't buy it, is she's naive enough to buy this whole thing. How is she not asking where Freddy went? Like, the superhero version of him shows up, she starts having a conversation with him, and I'm like, time out! Why are you not asking where Freddy is? And then you find out she's a god, and it's so much worse!
I mean, she was for, like, 1 second, and then people showed up. Like, it was kind of like throwaway, like...
But they have a minute and a half conversation before she says anything about it. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't want to spend an hour on this, and now we have.
No, we did. Now we have. I'm sorry, but can we talk about unicorns?
Yes, please. I've been wanting to talk about this. Okay, go ahead. Take it away.
Do you want to start this?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, there's one of the kids, one of the Shazam kids, like
who
like
is still Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls and has not grown up in at all.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And she's the youngest, and she likes unicorns because that's just a thing with the youngest character in a movie for some reason. She loves unicorns, and she spends the whole time like drawing unicorns and stuff. And then
like Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, and then they find out that unicorns are like these like, you know, horrible creatures. Like, not horrible creatures, but they're, like, really, like, they're not tame.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then, she just finds one. Like, she finds, like, 10. I don't know how.
How do they know where the unicorns are?
Yeah, they just went in a dark corridor because that's one of the things that unicorns like.
Like, but even if, look, we haven't talked about the wizard at all. Even if the wizard knows that unicorns are real and that there is likely some around now because they've basically opened, not the gates of hell, but like they've opened the gates to another realm up, and Lucy Liu wants to replace Earth with hers, with their realm, and destroy all the humans because they deserve it. Even if the wizard knows that there are probably unicorns. Yeah. How does he know where they are? He has no magic whatsoever.
And
they just walk into a dark corridor and like there's the unicorns. And the little girl is like, I know what to do about the unicorns. And then he's like, this is a bad idea. And then we cut, and then they go find the unicorns. Like, I don't know how we got to this scene.
Yeah, but they find the unicorns, and then he's like, oh, they only like
ambrosia.
Unicorn candy. Yeah. Yeah, ambrosia. And
right.
And then she...
They're like these super aggressive creatures, and she's like, no, I can tame them. I know what to do.
And she slow-mo throws Skittles at the unicorns, and they eat Skittles.
And now they can all ride them.
Yeah. And she says, taste the rainbow. And then they ride them around, and it's the dumbest thing ever.
So Connor,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I look over to Jason while this is happening. Slow motion Skittles.
For like 10 seconds.
Yeah. And first of all, I expected. I just had this thought. I expected. What is the name of that old song from the 80s? It's like da 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 da. That's what should have started playing. But anyway, I look over at Jason, and like everything about this is shot like a commercial. And they throw the Skittles. It's the weirdest product placement I've ever seen. And first of all, it's just weird that she's carrying that many Skittles around with her, right? And then I look over at Jason.
Well, I mean, there was a whole thing with Skittles earlier.
I know, but that's a lot of Skittles.
Yeah.
So I look over at Jason and I said, They're just doing a Skittles commercial right now? And I said, and he'll vouch for me on this. I said, taste the rainbow? 1 second later, she says, taste the rainbow, and he freaking lost it. He fell out of his seat practically.
I'm going to read you my Letterboxd review of this movie. I said Shazam Fury of the Gods isn't just a 130-minute Skittles ad for the Super Bowl. It's a really crappy 130-minute Skittles ad for the Super Bowl. So
yeah, that's what it is. And they should just take that scene out and make it a Super Bowl commercial, and that's the only way they'll recoup some costs on this. Because it's an okay Super Bowl commercial, I guess.
But that's when you said this looks like a commercial. I'm like, it does. It really does. The unicorn thing falls back into the humor, where it's like, it's this kind of like sort of self-aware, but it's like when you're a kid and you're making like a home movie and you don't have enough confidence to make like a legitimate horror movie. So it's a horror comedy. You don't have you don't have the confidence or the passion or the experience to make like an actual action thing. It's an action comedy, right? Like your friends can't act, so everything's kind of a joke. And that's what this felt like, where it's like, we're going to be unicorns, but they're going to be like badass and scary. Yeah, I don't want to mess with these unicorns. They're not puppies and rainbows. And then it's like,
yeah, like, isn't it ironic because they're not what you expect them to be? But then we flip that again and go, oh wait, they are, as long as you give them candy. And why does that work? Like, how is she so sure it will work?
It's so dumb because it's just like, okay, to go back just a little bit, it's like when they said we got to go find the king of beasts, the unicorns. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna have a subplot where they got to go to the unicorn realm, I guess. But it's like, why would the unicorns also hatch from these eggs if all the other things hatching from these eggs are like the monsters you have to fight? It's like weird that the thing that can fight all these other monsters is just another one of these monsters that hatches from the same eggs. It's like that was weird.
Well, look, maybe if they gave the dragon Skittles, it would be on our side.
Maybe if you gave the Cyclops Skittles, yeah. It's like, and so then it's like, but then it's like they say early on, they're like, oh, ambrosia, it's the nectar of the gods, and then it's like, oh, here's Skittles, and a little girl thinks it's the closest thing we have to what is described as nectar of the gods, and so it worked. I guess
they just didn't put any thought into that at all.
The thing is, they literally say, and honestly, this probably wouldn't be as good as Skittles, because that was just the stupidest thing ever, and just I cracked up at that. Just, why? But they were explaining the ambrosia, and they were like, you know, it's like sweet, like honey, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna go give the unicorns honey because they don't have ambrosia, so they're gonna like take a pot of honey and just like give them a bunch of honey,
drench it all over the unicorns.
Yeah, and then it's Skittles, and that threw me completely off track.
Yeah, well, it's logic that makes sense in a commercial, right? Like, if you're selling your product as nectar of the gods, like it's.
Well, and they're thinking they're ticking all the like 101 writing boxes because, well, we set it up. We had Skittles at the beginning of the movie. See, it's set up and payoff. That's what they think they're doing.
Yep.
And it's like that with the lip service that we pay to the real basic throwaway thematic stuff. Like, this is a movie that should never ask me to take it seriously because I just feel insulted whenever it does. Much of the time.
Yeah. Can I give you my last note?
Yeah, and then I'll do that too. Yeah, go ahead.
There's
more stuff we could talk about with this, but we should absolutely move on. We'll take a break right after this, and then we'll come back, and Connor and I will talk about John Wick 4 a little bit.
I like the moment I realized I would rather be watching Black Adam was when.
Now I will say I did not have that at all.
I hated Black Adam, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not good. So when I had with this was when they're standing on. So it's like it's the scene. You know the scene. It's the scene in the third act where they've all regrouped and a big inspirational speech is had, and everyone's there and they feel empowered, yada yada. Except it's on the top of some parking garage in Philadelphia. There's like. It's like diffused, overcast sky, so it's not like dramatically lit or anything. And like people are just like it's Shazam talking to the wizard Shazam, and then it's just like the supporting cast is just kind of like standing there. I'm like, what? Like dramatically, this is incompetent. Like this is not how you shoot a superhero movie. And furthermore,
it's also not how you write that scene either. How forced was it?
it was so like awkward.
Shazam
and, like,
gives the Wizard gives a 40-second speech to Billy Batson, who is about to crumble in the face of his own incompetence. Where like I don't know what I'm doing. You picked the wrong guy. The whole movie, the Wizard has agreed with that. I picked the wrong kid. He's responsible for all of this. This wouldn't even be happening if he hadn't broken the damn staff in the first place. And also, did you not have the why now question that I did? 4 years have passed, and not just in real time, in the continuity of the films. And these gods are just getting around to coming here now and trying to, bring back their realm. And I'm like, but the staff got broken 4 years ago. Why now?
I had the same thing.
But yeah, so he's like, so then he gives this stirring, really generic speech about how, no, I was wrong, Billy Batson. You are the right. I'm glad I picked you. And then that just perks him right up, and he just goes, I'm ready to fight now. I got it. I'm ready to go have my epic sacrifice. And like, this is this is what I was put on this earth for. Like I'm still a kid. I haven't grown up. I don't know anything. I'm stupid because all kids are stupid. We can't actually know things. And then he does the sacrifice thing, and we all know he's not going to die because Zachary Levi keeps talking about how he hopes he gets to play the part again. So then when he gets resurrected, you're like, okay, well, I mean, I saw that coming, a mile away. And it's almost worse than when you have the like resuscitation scene. Because they do a cut where they go to a new scene where it's like, now we're at the new status quo where Shazam is dead. And I'm like, oh, don't do this. This is way worse.
How did you like the Wrath of Khan reference?
There's a Wrath of Khan reference?
Yeah, where they're in the dome and he like puts his hand up against the dome. And Freddy puts his hand up against the
Oh, no. That makes me wish, though, that they'd gone even further and had Freddy give a eulogy where he goes, of everyone that I've known, he was the most godlike.
They just shoot him off of Mount Olympus and he starts falling. They're like, oh, we could just resurrect him? We gotta walk all the way back down Mount Olympus and then grab him.
But I'm sorry, was that all you want to say about that scene? Because you're right, it's not shot well, but it's not written well either.
It's not, but that just kind of ties into like a broader thing where I just kind of disagree with Sandberg's approach to shooting this one. Where what I like about the first one is how they shoot Philadelphia very grounded. But I think with this, it would have maybe done more as these people are coming into becoming godly superheroes. That Philadelphia is maybe shot with more myth. It's shot like it's this mythic place as they are becoming more mythic superheroes inside of it. Instead, it just looks kind of cheap. It's like, oh, look, there's a guy in a superhero costume under an overpass. Like I found myself not really roused by the action because of how kind of just not taking advantage of the locations they did. Like, I don't know, look at The Dark Knight and how they shot Chicago. Like, they made that thing look awesome. I feel like a similar thing.
I don't know that he did enough with the first movie either, though, with that, honestly. But
I like what they're doing in the first one because the story does seem to be them coming into their own as gods, though, and like that's why I think maybe a transition could have happened, because in the first one.
But I think you're giving this director a little bit too much credit, maybe that was like an intentional thing. I just think the first movie, and again, I'm harder on it now. I had a really bad watch with it yesterday, and I was like, this movie looks way more TV than I remembered it.
Okay.
And
just in general, I get what you're saying. I just don't know how intentional any of that is. You know what I mean? Like shooting it grounded versus just shooting it kind of plain. Like,
well, and that's the thing is like he is shooting it plain, and I just disagree with that choice. I think.
But I'm just saying, I think he's just doing what he did in the first movie because that's how he knows how to make movies. Like I don't know that he would have done that. Is all I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah, I hear you.
And Shazam 2 feels like a direct-to-video movie.
Yeah,
all the way to giving us the title up front the way it does.
That felt like a joke.
Frame 1, I felt myself going, wow, they really have no confidence in this movie.
It felt like a joke. Like that title card had like no like effects put into it. It was like, it's just like flat letters. Like, I don't know, it's kind of funny.
Well, I felt like there was a real clear transition to a title, if not a whole title sequence. The first movie is just a title too, in the opening after the opening scene in the museum where the goddesses turn everybody into stone, which is, by the way, just the first scene in Star Trek Nemesis, and they all the way down to one of them falls and breaks, like it's the exact, and then it falls and breaks, and then Jason's expecting a transition to Picard where he says duty and
implacable foes.
Exactly. So he's not Gilbert Gottfried. Implacable foes. Maple syrup. But anyway, I don't know what I was talking. There's a very clear place where you would put a title there, Connor, where you just have a real. I don't know that we needed all that exposition the goddesses have right then. It might have been cool if they just like killed all those people, turning them to stone, and then boom, here's your title.
Yeah, no, that would have been probably would have been better. I'm just tired of movies that cost this much looking this bad, though.
Yeah, right.
My question was, what do you guys think is the worst looking thing in the movie?
Ooh, okay. There's a part where Lucy Liu's on the dragon. Yeah. And it's like it's just like she's like on it, and then like the camera's kind of like doing this thing, and it's like she doesn't look like she's there. She's like awkwardly composited onto this thing that's composited onto this other thing, and it's this shot, or like where they're on the bridge, and it's like a low angle, and it's like kind of craning up, like.
It looks like a phone game. I don't like. Maybe like PS3 graphics. I don't.
Yeah, I thought all the monsters toward the end were really bad. Like the dragon looked better than like that Cyclops and stuff. All that stuff looked really awful.
Yeah, and I didn't like what the
it got into a Goosebumps place.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good call.
Can we talk about the dream sequence?
Can we never bring up the dream sequence? Like nightmare fuel and on purpose? Yeah, go ahead. And then I've got one more quick point to make before.
Because I didn't think that looked very good either. With
his head on
Wonder Woman's body.
Where they're clearly just trying to do kind of a red herring thing where it's like, we don't have this actress. Oh, look, yes, we do!
Yeah. That was way more entertaining as like a gag at the end of the first one where Superman shows up and it's just his head cut off. Like, I thought that was really funny. And then this time around, it felt like just obligatory. Like, you gotta have a callback where you're not going to see her face. And then they get you.
Yeah. But then somehow it's still not as awkward as that mid-credit scene, which is maybe one of the worst written things in a superhero movie. And like, we need to retire the mid-credit scene stat, right? Because we've gotten to a place where there are no standards for it at all. It's not the same movie anymore, and that's saying something with this movie. Like, it's somehow worse than the rest of this. I don't know how that's possible, but like, it's really horribly written.
What even happens in that? I don't even remember.
Do you want to join the Justice? Oh, yes, I do. You don't even know what we're going to say. Oh, Justice Society. Oh, is that the same thing as the Justice League? No, they're different because these words mean different things. Oh, I'm going to look up some words. Here's what it should be called. Stop talking. Turn the movie off. Like, no, and it's still going, and it's still going. And apparently, there's an end credit scene that we didn't even bother watching where they do Mr. Mind again. They're still setting it up? What?
I was angry that I sat through the credits for that.
I didn't see it. Watch.
I had to go to the restroom, and it's basically just like Mr. Mind shows up as a gag, and Savannah's like, I've been waiting here for however many years. You got to tell me something. And the caterpillar, again, just has like a cheeky, like, self-aware humor of like, I don't have wings or legs. I got to slither everywhere really slowly. Whoa, whoa. But you know what? I'll come back for you when I have more information to tell you. And then Savannah's just angry that he's not doing anything sooner. So that's it. It's just more of that rambling humor. That's not funny.
This stuff, I mean, it's as bad as like Venom at the end of No Way Home, and it's as bad as Michael Keaton at the end of Morbius, and like, stop it with these. just make it stop. Because at this point, nobody's got it, and through all of these companies, all of them, nobody's got any confidence anymore that the BS that we're having to sit through is even gonna matter later. Right. Like, I should sit down and make a list and figure out the percentage of the mid and after credit scenes that have actually paid off and been what they claimed was gonna happen later. And I get when things don't work out and it's got to change, but it happens way too often. With all this up between MCU and
Justice League,
and Justice League, everything. Yeah. What do you think the percentage is? Is it 50?
I would say less than 50. I'd say 40 is probably what I would put it at.
That it doesn't pay off, or that it does?
40% does pay off.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. That's why, is it like 50% that doesn't pay off? Because I think it's at least 50%.
At least
you think it's 60?
I'd put it up higher. Like I mean, I just go back to thinking about like, was it? Oh, okay, never mind. The one in Thor: The Dark World sets up Guardians, but like I thought it was about the giant ice monster trampling around London. It's like we never. Yeah, I mean it's just a gag, but like, why did we even put it?
Why was that in there? Yeah, well, they're not always set up, but very often they are. Okay, I got to make this last point real quick. I'm going to illustrate why Shazam being like the adult version of Billy Batson being as stupid as he is makes no sense at all. So, I mean, besides just the fact that I don't know 17-year-olds that dumb. It's like, oh, he's a kid. He's so dumb. Like, he's playing 9.
I don't know 25-year-olds that dumb either.
So, he, in this, he doesn't know how to pronounce the name Solomon.
Yeah.
Now, I have to talk about this for a second.
I mean, it was funny.
It was fun. No, I'll give you the gag. If Billy Batson is 9, okay, so he reads the wisdom of Solo Man, and then later he calls him Saruman. Okay, this is on the level, and I don't bring this up too much. This is on the level. Do you know what I'm gonna say? Of Back to the Future 3.
Yep.
With schematic. Yeah. You're telling me Marty McFly can't read the word schematic? all right. It's on that level. So you're telling me that this kid, and remember, he's 4 years older now. He hasn't gained any knowledge or wisdom of Solo Man or anybody else.
Hot? No, it's cold, Marty.
It's obviously cold. Air cold. What are you, stupid? All right. So get off Back to the Future. So, end of the first movie, Connor, he's fighting Dr. Zhivago or whatever his name is, right?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Savannah.
Dr. Zhivago. So he's fighting Dr. Savannah, and he and they're trying to get all the deadly sins out of the villain, right? So that he's just a regular person and they can just haul him off the jail. And he goes, he has this big speech on another roof, I think, and he's trying to get envy out of him. And this kid, without having time to do any research, can rattle the 7 deadly sins off the top of his head, and he's never seen Solomon? Nonsense!
That's nonsense, yeah.
Nonsense!
Great point.
That's the last thing I want to say about that.
Good point.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Zhivago.
I actually have a copy of Dr. Zhivago right over there.
I've never seen it. That was
no, I mean like the Boris Pasternak novel.
Oh! I thought there was a movie called Dr. Zhivago.
Oh yeah, no, the '65 movie. Yeah, directed by David Lean. Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of movies. I thought maybe that's what you're talking.
No, I should have it. I don't know why I don't. Yeah.
You should get that.
I don't even have Lawrence of Arabia. I should have both of those.
I'm sorry we haven't read Super Chats, guys. Let me get through these real quick. Mutale, right at the beginning of the show, I'm sorry, this is unprofessional of me. I should have gotten to these already. He says, you think, I guess he's asking a question here. Do you think if Tom Cruise endorsed this movie like he did with The Flash and said it's the movie we need right now, it would have been better? I don't know why that would make the movie better. Maybe he's saying would it perform better? I would say no. I don't think that would affect ticket sales whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like
Tom Cruise endorsing. I didn't even hear about that, by the way, with Flash. But like, I don't know if a big celebrity endorses a movie. Do you think the president? Maybe that's a bad example because of how volatile politics are these days. I was going to say, do you think if the president of the United States endorses a movie, more people see it?
No, because
do you think when people liked the president, that like more people, whoever the president is, like the president, that would happen? I don't even know.
Maybe, but like. Obama, like I think even when he was president, even to today, like he lists like his favorite songs and movies of like years every year, and like no one knows that. Like no one
Yeah,
cares.
nobody's paying attention to that, right?
Yeah,
So
and so
no.
it's like, yeah, I don't. But like the other thing is, like if you hadn't heard the story, apparently like Tom Cruise just wanted to see The Flash, and so he called up David Zaslav and then got to see The Flash, and then said he loved it. But like, I mean, I kind of follow this stuff, but like that doesn't make me any more or less interested in watching The Flash. Like, yeah, I don't know Tom Cruise. I mean, I like the movies he produces and generally like stars in, but like, so what? Like, I don't know. I don't
No,
get
and
it.
outside of being a good actor and doing a lot of crazy stunts, his main reputation is crazy cult guy.
Yeah, and like, I don't know how many just guy on the street cares what Tom Cruise's opinions on movies are.
Yeah, and also I don't think it's fair he got to see that early.
Yeah,
Like, what does
I
he have to
guess.
do with that production or anything? Like, okay, he's made movies for Warner Brothers, but unless he's considering making a movie with DC or wants to put his 2 cents in and is like, look, I just really like your movies. You should let me see it because I might have ideas. Even that I don't know about. But like, it's just I want to get to see it. That's not. I don't think
He
you
just
should.
wanted to see it. Like what?
Should you get to have that kind of privilege just because you're a big movie star? I don't know.
I
That's
don't
a
know. Maybe he's
question.
like, I'm gonna be out of town when that movie premieres, and I'd
it's
like
it's
to watch
maybe
it
different
beforehand.
because I've heard actors give interviews where it's like I get to see a lot of movies early because I know people that are in them or I know producers and like I guess I kind of get that. You show it to your friends. Maybe he gets to go to a screening or something, but just let me see a copy. Zaslav, yeah, I'm sure he and Zaslav are great friends before
Yeah.
Zaslav gets that job. You know what I mean? Like,
Have you seen that video of Tom Cruise going to see Tenet in theaters when that first premiered?
huh?
It's one of the most hilariously awkward things because he's like trying to promote like let's go out to the movies guys because he and Christopher Nolan are on that like movie theater experience thing,
Yeah.
and he's like wearing a mask and he's like it's trying to be candid and like he's looking outside of his limo and people are like waving at him. He's like, how could they recognize me? I got half of my face covered up. And then it's like he's like in the theater and someone asks him, Tom, what did you think? And he's like, I loved it. It was great. As he's just walking away. It's
Where he's
really
really thinking, I have no idea what happened in this movie. I bet.
exactly. Like it was so funny. Like
Okay, let's knock these other ones out. I did not mean for this to go an hour and a half. Sorry, Jason. Do you want to go to bed?
I'll go to bed after this.
Okay, we'll knock these out real quick. Mutali, another super chat. Thanks, buddy. First DCEU movie where Diana is called Wonder Woman. But that's not really saying a lot because I think that's probably even name dropped in the first one because I can't remember, but they're constantly he's constantly like mentioning superheroes and there's at least some merchandise or something with Wonder Woman in the first movie, so I'm sure the idea is that everybody's calling her that. But yeah, it's weird that she's not called that in her own movies.
that's something I got a problem with. Like, the Marvel kind of started that where he's not really Iron Man, he's Tony. You know him as Tony. Yeah, but he does say I am Iron Man.
And
I don't know. That's,
like we're too cool for the names.
yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it's just like an approach that they really want you to understand these characters as like these superheroes as people, but at the same time, it's like I would like it if you know these superheroes said their names more in the movies. Like, is he really called the Falcon very often, or they just call him like the Falcon Wings? Like that's the suit.
Yeah. I don't remember. I get that, but I feel like we do it with other stuff too. Like you can't say Avengers Assemble.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
gotta like, we're too cool for that, so we gotta be all cheeky about it. Avengers, oh, we all know what we. No, don't do that. That's I don't know. Anyway, Mutale, another super chat. Thank you. The co-writer did the Fast and the Furious films. He's just making a statement. I didn't know that. I've not seen those.
Chris Morgan, I think, is
That-
the screenwriter. Okay. Yeah.
That doesn't immediately, mean that it's gonna be super stupid. I don't guess. I don't know. I don't know enough about those movies to know, but
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy those movies after a certain point, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any connection.
I was
Screenplay-wise.
skeptical when when Lynn, one of their directors, got a Star Trek movie, and then it was the best of those three. So, having had that experience, like, oh, this guy just really knows Star Trek, and like, oh, maybe he just knows how to make a movie what the movie's supposed to be. Like, yeah, it's pretty action driven, but that's what those already were. But then also, it's a Star Trek movie now. Thanks, Simon Pegg, but also thanks to that guy because he knew how to shoot it. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe he's one of those directors that makes a Fast and the Furious movie that looks like a Fast and Furious movie. People like those movies, and he makes that. And then Star Trek, I know what that is. I'll make it like a Star Trek thing. We don't do that anymore. It's irritating. Whatever happened to the like Dave Wise school of directing, where like you just make it not Dave Wise, Robert Wise. What happened to the Robert Wise school of filmmaking, where like if he's gonna make a musical, it's gonna look like a musical, and if he's gonna make a science fiction epic, it's gonna be a science fiction epic, and you might not even be able to tell that Wise did Star Trek the Motion Picture and also Sound of Music,
Yeah, and he also did West Side Story, which does not look like
Sound of Music.
Yeah. It's, by the way, did you know that Robert Wise was the editor on Citizen Kane?
I might have forgotten, but I'm sorry I bring that up too much. But
that's just, right behind you.
That's one of my go-to examples. Oh yeah, he does have the Criterion for Citizen Kane. You bought me that for Christmas.
I did.
Yeah, that was cool of you.
Is that the Criterion though?
Because I don't know if it's the same one or if it's something else.
No, my Criterion's right there, and then the 70th anniversary Blu-ray that Warner Brothers did is right there. The 80th anniversary Criterion is right there. So I have multiple.
I got him the Criterion.
Really well, it's a really good release. Like
it was so pretty,
packed with really cool extras.
I haven't watched it yet, but I really like the presentation of the box. Chewbacca's Lover, $2 super chat. I agree with Cap about romance and so many things. Appreciate that, man. Bob the Hun, $2 super chat. Conner is spot on comedy, so you don't have to try. Yeah, what a good way to put that. But you do have to try. Is that it for the super chats?
Goodbye.
It looks like it is. Jason, thanks for hanging out with us. No, we've talked about this too long, and we still got another movie to do tonight, so we're going to go ahead and go to break. Give us about 3 to 4 minutes, and we'll be back in just a minute. Conner, are you still good?
I'm great.
Do you need to table the other movie, or are you good to have a second half of this?
Oh, I'm ready. I just got to get some water.
Or I should say second part of this, because maybe we won't take a year and a half on the other one, an hour and a half. Sorry, Tom put in a $5 super chat. Wait, these movies are already out. It might be because I almost never see commercials anymore, but I keep forgetting that it's out already. Yeah, and for 3 weeks too, this last one. Chewbacca's Lover said he had another. Why do I keep doing this with specifically Chewbacca's Lover? It seems like I always miss his super chats. I don't do it on purpose. Or was it Mutale? Hold on. Mutale. Did I read this one? David Sandberg is the one who decided to do original characters as villains, saying Mr. Mind didn't fit the themes of this movie.
We had not talked about that one.
Okay. I don't know how I missed that. Pardon me. Yeah, but that's weird that he would. I mean, did he not film the scene from the first movie? Was that like over his head or something? Why would you set that up if you didn't want to do it?
Yeah, I don't know.
When you say like themes of this movie, it's like, well, I would think that you would that the themes of the movie would be born out of what the premise.
The first movie.
That's typically the correct way to tell a story. Is you come up with an idea and then the themes those come later. There are exceptions. Like when you're doing morality plays and things sometimes, by and large, especially with something like this, with just your kind of typical superhero movie, it's much better to go. You don't have to start with a villain, but here's our idea. Here's the story we want to tell. Write a draft. Oh, these are the ideas that are clearly jumping out. Let's bring those to the fore now. That's the best way to do it, generally speaking. But anyway.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry. You look like you wanted to say something. I just kept talking.
Oh, sorry. No, you're good. You're good. I agree. You ready to go to break?
I really am. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and go to break. Jason, thanks for being a trooper and sticking with us, man.
Yeah.
And we shall see everybody in just a couple of minutes. And we're back. It's just me and Connor now, and it's time to massively switch gears as we go to John Wick Chapter 4. We're going to, just like we did with Shazam 2, Shazam for Year of the Gods, we're going to do our quick sign flips and give you some non-spoiler talk. And let's be really careful about spoilers with this one, Connor, because this movie is newer than Shazam, and more people care, and, you know, it's actually performing, and people are going, but maybe some folks won't have seen it yet when they watch this, particularly after the fact. But I definitely, of course, want to do some spoiler talk. And we'll wait to talk about the amusing similarities that I found with this and Shazam, until we get there too, because that would spoil some things about this movie. And this is gonna be a tough one, I think, not to spoil. I'm very excited to talk about this. And I saw this one yesterday. I've had some life in between, so I might need you, Connor, to help me kind of, you know, spark my brain and remember things as we go along. But I'm sure it'll all come back to me. Connor, would you mind doing the same thing you did with the first one? Just give us a real quick breakdown of what this one's about.
Certainly. John Wick Chapter 4 picks up after the events of John Wick Chapter 3, which also came out 4 years ago.
Parabellum, the only one of the four to have a subtitle for some reason.
Yeah. At the end of that, John was betrayed by Winston in the Continental and sort of left for dead. The Bowery King, played by Lawrence Fishburne, rescued him. And I guess in this time, John has become, he's recovered. And he goes off the top and murders a member of the High Table. He wants to get vengeance on the High Table. However, there is a new bad guy played by Bill Skarsgård who seems to be really high ranking, and he really wants to not just kill John Wick, but he wants to kill the idea of John Wick. And so it becomes this way of John taking on the high table by way of trying to take out one guy. And there's a lot more going on here. That's generally the center of it, but this is the fourth installment, all of which have been directed by Chad Stahelski and starring Keanu Reeves. And this one introduces into the, also returning are Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, and then new faces include Bill Skarsgård, Clancy Brown, Donnie Yen, and that's the movie. Cap, how did you feel about John Wick, Chapter 4?
Okay, I'm going to try to make this brief because all I want to do is talk about spoilers with this. Giant green sign flip, not really a surprise. I love these movies. I can't help but go in expecting the quality to stay more or less where it was. And certainly not a perfect movie, but it's absolutely wonderful. Is it the best of the four? I don't know yet. I couldn't pick a best of the three before. Like the like I said, the quality is just there. They're still action set pieces that are real fresh and new and engaging and like nothing I've seen before. Is there more of the same? Yeah, there is. And these like to have these real long technical fight sequences with choreography that reminds you of stuff you've seen in the other movies, and then it'll kind of hit you sideways with stuff you haven't seen before. It's kind of all about the rhythm and the pacing of that, making them a dance, and it's as ambitious or more so than it's ever been about that. I think it might be my favorite plot of these. The best thing, let me give you a best story thing and then a best technical thing, if I may. The best story thing is we've got two guys here that are both after John Wick for different reasons and trying to kill him, that are the most likable characters in the movie. And I found that super refreshing, that they're not even bad guys. Like my favorite characters in the movie are trying to kill my protagonist. I love that. And they've got really somewhat anyway, understandable and believable reasons for doing that, particularly Donnie Yen's character, and Donnie Yen's always classy, but oh boy, how classy is that guy? He's wonderful. Every time he comes on screen, I'm like, what crazy, cool, impossible thing is he about to do? Maybe one of, minor spoiler, easily one of the coolest blind characters ever in an action movie, right? Like, you just wanted to throw him in. All I wanted to do was see him have a fight with Stick from the Daredevil TV show. The whole movie, that's all I was thinking. Is like, can I see these guys go at it? Like, that would be great. But like, you probably said the actor name. I forget his name, but like Mr. Nobody, the black guy with the dog. How cool is that character? I just, I loved them. I thought both of them were worthy of having spin-offs, maybe. And then the best technical thing is this movie has not one but two of the freshest and most interesting fight setups I've ever seen in anything. And I already could have said that about other stuff in this franchise, but I forgot about all the other things after this movie. One of them is right at the end, and we'll talk about it later. And you probably know what I'm talking about. But there's kind of a crucible that John Wick has to go through that ends up longer and crazier and sad and hilarious all at the same time. It's just wonderful. It's one of the most entertaining slogs I've ever sat through, if that makes any sense at all. We'll talk about it. And then the other thing is one of the most impressive one-ers in the history of action movies. There's this incredible one-er, I can't even tell you how it's done, where we just make the whole thing look like a third-person shooter from top down, and it's killer. It's amazing. Anyway, like I said, big green sign flip. I've got to do worst thing. Worst thing, I'll do the same thing. I'll do the same thing. My worst thing story-wise is that Fishburne does not get the screen time I was hoping he would get. And he's great when he's on screen, but I was really hoping that he would kind of be, and I don't mean that it's bad because it's not what I wanted, but especially because he got left out of Matrix 4. Like, I really wanted more of him here, but he's not the sidekick for John Wick that I was kind of hoping he would be in this. I just wanted to see more of him, and I'm seeing a lot of reviews saying that the movie is bloated. This is the technical part, that the movie is kind of bloated. And it's got pacing issues. It's longer than it has to be. I need more viewings of it because I have I'm of two minds about it, because some of that is very deliberate, and some of what it's trying to achieve at the end especially, it pulls off a lot more when you have to sit through it with it for a long time. I think there's like a rule that it's breaking that it maybe needs to in places, but I think it's still maybe longer than it has to be. There are some action scenes where my mind is wandering. I will definitely throw that at it. And I've got a couple of questions about like the rules of the high table at the end and whether or not they're being like circumvented too much, where I actually buy that people are getting away with it. That's a thing too. But anyway, it's just wonderful, and that's all I'm gonna say right now. Connor, how did you feel about John Wick Chapter 4?
John Wick is one of those series that I've have this affinity for. If you were a college age person in late 2014 into 2015, in every friend group there was that person who was just an advocate, an evangelist for John Wick and or Whiplash. And I was just the guy who wanted everyone to watch both of those movies. I remember being there opening weekend for the first John Wick movie, just on a whim with my
That's
brother.
That's a crossover we need.
Yes. Fletcher and John Wick going at it, dude, unbelievable.
He's just throwing drumsticks at him.
Yeah, hi-hats and snare drums. But I can see John deflecting those too. So it would be like I was there opening weekend for the first John Wick, and it was an empty theater, save my brother and I. And halfway through that movie, we look at each other and we think, like, what did we walk into? Like, this is like actually like great. And to this day, I love that movie. It's one of the great comic book movies that's not based on a comic book. And it was so cool to watch the second one in theaters because it was a full house. And you could tell it was the first time these people were seeing John Wick in a theater. They were all people who had like got word of mouth.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting.
Yeah, because that first movie was just a movie.
Mm-hmm. And the part at the end of number 2 where he shoots the guy in the Continental, a gasp went through that audience.
Yeah.
Because like the world building and character work was so strong. We knew the consequences. We knew what the motivations, and like it was so cool. I was coming down with a cold as I was watching John Wick 3 the one time I saw it. So I wish like I had a better viewing of that, because my memory of that movie is I like it less as it goes on. But I'm also coming down with a cold. So like, my back's achy, I have a runny nose and stuff during the last half of that movie. But anyways, with John Wick 4, I was able to kind of remember what some of my reservations about the third one were. I like this one more than the third one, I think, overall, but I don't like it as much as the first two. However, I am still giving it a green sign flip. It is a very good action film, especially if you like action.
Yeah.
This is the best you're going to see. Probably the best you're going to see all year. If I had to give a best thing, I'm going to say Donnie Yen. He is so good this entire time. And so last year in December, there's a character in Japanese cinema called Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman. And there was like 25 films, and they're all starring the same guy. There's also a 26th one, but whatever. But I watched through all of those, and I really fell in love with that character played by Shintaro Tatsu. Donnie Yen is doing a Zatoichi like audition. And it's the best,
cool.
It is the best audition I've seen. He's doing Zatoichi where he's like world weary and kind of sad, but kind of puts on this like, affable kind of humored man, but he's like aching on the inside, and he's like this skilled killer who just not want to do it, and he kind of wanders, and he's tasked with doing things because he has to. Like, he's so good, and not just because I like Zatoichi, but even if I had no idea who that character was, Donnie Yen is just so good in this role, and the character is more than just what if Zatoichi was in John Wick. It is a character unto itself. And
well, it's a wonderful bookend with the first movie because it's John Wick again, but he's brought back into the life for a different reason.
Yeah, it's a very compelling character and a very compelling performance. And I've only ever seen Donnie Yen's American work, and what I have seen, he's usually a supporting character.
Yeah.
And I never got what because he comes from Hong Kong.
I don't think I've seen him in anything outside of Star Wars. Maybe there's something else. I'm
trying to think. There probably has to be some like B-grade Stallone movie where he's like a heavy, for like a couple scenes. But like, I was remembering Star Wars and I was like, is Donnie Yen blind? And he's not.
I was having the same thing. I was like, wait a minute, I think he's blind in Star Wars. Maybe he's not.
He is blind in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There. I was like, I thought he was blind in Star Wars. He keeps playing like blind action stars. Okay.
Yeah. But so he comes from like the Hong Kong action scene, and I've never seen that stuff. And now that I've seen him do this, I feel like I've finally gotten a taste of his Hong Kong stuff, and it really wants me to make me like branch out and go see more of his work.
Yeah.
If I had to give a negative here, my worst thing. I guess technical worst thing. I get it's a COVID production. So much of this movie looks amazing, but there's some of that volume set, especially at the end, that just doesn't look very good.
I don't know what you mean by volume. So you keep saying that. I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's the Mandalorian set where it's like the big TV like sets where it's like just a giant LED screen instead of like a green screen that they're standing in front of.
See, people keep talking about that. I'm not noticing it when it's happening yet. I haven't picked up on this. I'm probably thinking it's green screen. I don't know. Like people keep complaining about this and things, and I've not noticed it yet.
Yeah, and maybe it is just a placebo effect. I was talking about this with my brother, where we watched the first season of Mandalorian.
No, I feel dumb. I feel like I should know what people are talking about. I'm not noticing it yet. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
Yeah, it took me. Oh yeah, no, I heard you. Oh no, this is where my connection starts to suffer when we're talking about something I like.
Yeah,
no.
of course. Yeah, go ahead.
But if I had to give like my worst thing.
Next time the crappy movie gets 20 minutes, okay?
Yeah, please. Yeah, with this though, it's the same issue I had with the third one, which is I think that the world building is not as tight as it was the first two times around, and there's like a little bit of like a fetch quest element where we've written ourselves into a corner and we need to get out of this. So we'll introduce this new part of the world that has its own set of characters and its own like subplot that John Wick side quest needs to go on for a little bit. And it introduces us to a compelling, character actors and a cool, neat part of the world, but like we're never going to see it ever again. And it does sort of seem to be a little bit of cheapness to that, where, well, we'll make it Halle Berry, she's an actress, and we'll have a cool action scene with dogs, but then we never see any more of that. Like Angelica Houston shows up in the third one, and like there's a similar thing here where it's like there's a big fetch quest, and that kind of world building, it's not as tight as the first two, which are so effortless. They belong to that Star Wars, the pilot of Twin Peaks, where it's like the world building is so intuitive. But it's fine, I guess. The big irony though is I was enjoying this movie well enough for a while, but once we were on that fetch quest where they're all playing cards at a table together with Scott Adkins in a fat suit, all of a sudden I got really into the movie. So
yeah.
Where they're in the nightclub swinging axes around,
and that's the most hard-boiled these movies ever get, right?
Yeah,
like that was so noirish.
The final hour is just incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. But we can get into it. But overall, thumbs up. I really like this movie, and I'm very happy that it's succeeding. The more that movies like Creed 3 and this succeed, while Ant-Man and the Wasp and Shazam kind of flounder, makes me happy.
I just wish studios would learn the right lessons from this stuff, which is try fresh weird stuff that may or may not perform instead of make a bunch more Creeds and make a bunch more John Wicks, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, they're talking about a Creed universe. I don't want that.
Well, and not just that, but like how many studios are trying to do their John Wick now? We seem to have a bit of a lag at this point, but yeah, it's annoying. It's like just make stuff, just take risks. That first John Wick may have like, it would have been as great as it was, and it may not have performed, and then those guys would have been glad that they made that movie, and maybe it wouldn't have had sequels, but we had this great movie. And then it became a franchise, so now it's about trying to make more of these franchise starters. So, you've got to have Bullet Train, and you got to have, how many, like, female John Wicks have we made now? And, like, there's 2 or 3 of those, and, yeah, stop it. Just try. It's trendy now.
Do you want me to call you back because it's glitchy?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Connor's having some connection issues. But we didn't have this issue at all for the first hour, so that's good.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but it's funny that you talk about Bullet Train and female John Wick attempt number X.
Yeah, I don't know what any of those are called. Yeah.
But both of those are directed by David Leitch, who was a co-director on the first John Wick movie. But yeah, no, I see what you mean. And
okay, that's fair, but I still feel like it's getting kind of trendy.
No, I agree, and it's what I see.
And John Ty, I haven't seen Bullet Train. I got no dog in that fight. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, and it's the point I'm actually bringing up is you see studios going, well, he's one of the guys who worked on John Wick. Get in. Make another John Wick.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, unless it's him pitching it, but I doubt that it is.
And it's not. And his movies just don't look as good as these movies do. They have the very hyper digital, a lot of special effects that just kind of don't look tangible thing. The ending of Bullet Train looks like it's shot entirely on a green screen. But yeah,
it's the Warner Brothers Montreal version.
That is the perfect description of David Leitch's post John Wick career.
He's just making Arkham Origins.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Yeah. But yeah. No. So let's get into more of the back and forth. I overall really like this movie a lot.
Do you think it's too long? Does it have the bloated problem?
I didn't have that.
Did you not?
For a 3-hour movie, I was surprised. And I had to go to the bathroom before it started. I didn't even think about where's the point where I can get up? That never crossed my mind. It felt significantly shorter than 3 hours. It felt like it might have been 2.
Okay, interesting. It's funny that I'm going to be harder on it on this point than you, because I did feel the length of it, and I kind of feel like it wants me to, at least to some degree. I feel like slog's not the right word, you know what I mean? It doesn't want me to get bored, but you're supposed to appreciate just how much of a beating he's taking through this movie. And that's true with the other two to some degree, but especially because of where we wind up at the end, he's got to really take a beating. And it's I think supposed to be about the repetitive nature of what he does, and we've got still the big question of if he can't get out, whether he's able to get out or not. Is this just his nature? Does he kill because he actually he hates these people and it's revenge and he thinks that they deserve it and he's in the right, or is he looking for excuses to get back in because he's a killer at heart? Was it really about his dog? Was it really about his wife? Or at the end of the day, is he subconsciously just looking for an excuse? And I think that the long shot nature of it is kind of speaking to all of that. But I still think that some of the action scenes go on longer than they need to. You have that fantastic wonder that I'm talking about. Did we need to get back into the third person perspective, right? We do that, and it's wonderful, and we're above the ceiling, and we're going with all these rooms, and he's taking them out like you're you're looking like at the top of Hitman or something, and then we cut and we go to his perspective, like a regular, like third person profile, and then we watch the crane go all the way back up from that. And it was cool looking, but then we went back to that shot again, and I was like, I don't know if we needed to do it twice. And that wasn't even so much that's too redundant is I was like, does this scene have to keep going for this long? So yeah, I did have places where I felt like it could have been maybe parsed down a little bit, and I also think that there's more reasons for why it's as long as it is, but we'll get into spoilers here in a second.
Yeah, no, I see, like, the wonder you're talking about, it was like I ascended, like, it was so amazing. It was like,
yeah,
beautiful. And so I was like so hooked that I wasn't even necessarily breaking it down the way you were. But I did have a little bit of like and this is like, I guess, like a complaint with the beginning of this that I have with the ending of the third one, which is I think that the motivation of John Wick feels a little diluted, where there's a lot of like, assassin world politics going on, where it is just like, okay, now I have to fight off hordes and hordes and hordes of bad guys, and I'll do it. And like that to me is like kind of what the beginning of Japan feels like. There's some cool stuff there, but I did kind of wonder why we are taking as long as we were. The ending of John Wick 3, it's called Parabellum, which is Latin, and that means prepared for war. And so I was thinking, okay, well, this is the prep for war, and then John Wick 4 is going to be the all-out war. And so to me, the ending of John Wick 3 got a little like, okay, I'm ready to go now, because A, I'm coming down with a cold and I'm sick, but B, like, him fighting guy after guy after guy after guy. I'm like, okay, I know he's going to win, because like there's going to be a fourth one where there's going to be actual war. So I wasn't as into it. And yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Winston kind of has a heel turn there, but like, it's still like when I was watching them fight, I wasn't as into it as I was 1 and 2 and beginning of 3.
Well, the heel turn is also explained exactly the way you would expect it to be, right?
Yes. And then here, though, it's like there's the business in Japan. There's him on horseback going to kill that one guy. There's like all this like internal like assassin world politics that is setting everything up, and it did feel like it was prime for, we can just send hordes after hordes after hordes of guys to kill John Wick, and he doesn't seem to have like a stake in fighting this particular guy the way the ending does, where it's everyone is going to kill me and I got to get to that location, stat. And so
there's such a sense of urgency with that, of course. Yes. I mean, it's one of the best traditional ticking time bombs you've ever seen.
Yeah
like it's spectacular in that way.
That urgency motivates the best action in John Wick, and I feel like I was missing it towards the beginning of this particular movie.
So we're going to go into full-on spoilers here in a second. Darth Bobo actually brought up the next question I was gonna give you, the other big criticism that I hear lobbed at this, and I don't mean to be wishy-washy about things. I'm also a little bit of two minds about this part too, but he says, I hated the logic. It felt like he was Daredevil without any superpowers. It didn't work for me. I guess I guess they're talking about Donnie Yen right now, but I wanted to use that to talk about just like the kind of heightened reality in general, and particularly with John Wick himself. The end of 3 was a bit of a shark jump for some people, where he drops off a building and he survives that, and there was kind of this question of, okay, like even for this world, is that going too far? And this, I think, starts from that place and then continues forward. You know what I mean? Where like, if you didn't buy that, you're not gonna buy this whole movie. But I really like that about it, because it's kind of I like that you're either with it or you're not. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, if that's possible, it makes sense that we go in arguably a more heightened or just stick to the nines with just how like comic book impossible some of what he does and some of what he's able to take is. And I questioned it, but I accepted it at the same time.
I didn't necessarily have that. I think I was talking with a coworker, last week when told him I was going to go watch this movie, and he said, I like those John Wick movies, but at the end of 3, like they're getting thrown through just panes of glass, and no one's going to get up from that. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess some people do have that, straining the credibility. But it never really crossed my mind in 3, and it never crossed my mind here either.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was just curious about that for you. Because, yeah, it did cross my mind, but I was ultimately okay with it, especially because of the way the ending is handled. So we're going to go full-on spoilers now, and I'm sure most people watching live have seen the movie. But if you haven't, you should probably turn us off and then come back after you've seen it. Same thing if you're watching after the fact, of course. Full-on spoilers now, folks. I'm gonna go right to the end now, because it's the big elephant in the room. I respect this movie so much, for the way it ends, and I have very rarely been able to be that surprised in a theater by a thing like this, and I really can't even believe that they kept it under their hats like they did. I walked into this movie, constantly thinking about where we would go in 5. Like, that was my headspace. The whole movie, I kept going like, I don't know how you top this action scene. I don't know how, when you get to the idea of the duel, okay, he's going to go duel somebody at the high table, and then of course there's a proxy, and we don't know about that yet, but I'm like, okay, he's going to go duel somebody at the high table, and he's either going to die or he's going to be able to get out of the life. Where do you freaking go from there? Like, how are there more stories to tell after that? And then I let myself, when he gets to the top of the stairs, go the second time. God, that's the coolest thing. That's one of the coolest freaking things I've ever seen. Cool. And he just keeps dropping. It just keeps dropping. And I'm like, my theater was in an uproar, friggin' uproar. And anyway, when he gets up to the top of the stairs the second time, I had the split second where I went, I mean, maybe he doesn't make it. And I was like, but there's no way that his name is in the title. It's like Jack Bauer with 24. They're not going to kill him, And then that happens, and it happens super subtly between scenes, and you find out that there's subtext when he's asking Winston if he'll take him home, and what he's really talking about is to his grave. And I'm like, first of all, how did I not find out about this before I went to the theater? Like, how do they keep it under their hats? And how did, maybe I just haven't looked enough into production and stuff, but like, I thought they were still talking about a 5th one. And there's been all this talk about spinoffs and things. I looked into it after the fact, of course, and apparently, Connor, they had to fight with the studio tooth and nail to get that ending.
Wow.
Like,
well, I'm glad they won it.
They're like we're done for now. We don't want to make another one. We think this is the right. The reason I respect it as much as I do is because it's just correct for the story. It's character driven. It's story driven. I got the satisfaction that I wanted from the end of 1 originally. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad this is a franchise. I'm glad we opened up the curtain. I'm glad we get to see the comic book world of the assassins and everything. But when I walked out of John Wick, the first time I saw it, I went, the natural place for that to go is he dies at the end. And I was right about it. Now, it isn't that was the place for him to die, because I agree now that there was more story to tell. But we have to see this character die. Like, it just has to happen. They make such a wonderful, really throughout, but especially in this movie, such a wonderful argument for, remember that whole speech? Who is it that has it? That says that the only way John Wick will ever have peace is in death. And it's just true. Of course. And I've never been as satisfied by a character death as I was by that. And did you have the thing I did where I didn't trust it? Like, I didn't believe it?
I mean, I did. Yeah, no, I kind of still don't. Like, it makes too much money. Like, I'm there too. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy it while
I feel like part of the reason it happens off screen is in case they decide to retcon it. I mean, I can't help but have that thought, but I also think they're going to have too much integrity to do that.
Yeah, no, at least for a while. I mean, I would certainly hope so. But you are right. Like, I mean, they've exceeded like any like thought I had, like, how do you top this action scene? Like, once we've given him nunchucks, like, what do we give him next? Like, he's but like you're right, as far as like the story.
And once you had that, sorry, after that poker scene, that fight with the big fat guy that you would, it was like Kingpin, dude. I was like, I didn't expect him to suddenly get in a hand-to-hand fight. That was one of the coolest fights in the movie. That was amazing. How do you top that?
Do you know who that guy is, by the way?
You said it was somebody in a fat suit. I didn't even realize that. So no, I did not know who that was.
It's a guy named Scott Adkins, who you probably, I've never seen him in a movie, and I don't think you have either, unless you watch straight to video B action movies.
I don't.
But he's a martial artist. But I first became aware of him because before Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, there was this movement to get him to be Batman. Because as far as some fans were concerned, he was the real life Batman. He knew all the fighting. He knew all that stuff. And he, has black hair and blue eyes.
Wow.
So and he's like 6'2" or something. So it's just awesome that they put him in a fat suit and he's like kickboxing.
You can't even recognize him.
Awesome. He's unrecognizable. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I kind of want to see him as Batman now.
I kind of felt like he was John Wick's version of like Jaws from Bond.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I guess Kingpin was a good call. I can't believe I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, because you wouldn't expect him to be able to move like he does.
Yeah, when he like kicks him and it like just throws John back in the wonderful location with like the waterfalls and like the axes being thrown around. That really got me into like the last stretch of the movie.
Well, every one of these has been elegant.
Very
the way it's shot, but oh my god, this movie, like locations in particular, like so freaking elegant.
I really liked Mr. Nobody. I really liked, especially like he's the character with the dog.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the payoff with that. Like the character in a nutshell is kind of a twist on the Willem Dafoe character from the first one, where the whole time you think Willem Dafoe is like secretly trying to kill John Wick, and then you find out he's actually an ally who's kind of watching his back. And this is
is the opposite of that. He is trying to get him,
but he's watching his back until he hits the right dollar amount. And I thought that was a really fun kind of twist on that previous character.
Yeah, well, and then ultimately he just gives up because John saves his dog, which is like kind of genius.
It was poetic.
It's just perfect. Yeah.
Because I was
not like overtly so. It's just it's the right amount of poetry, right?
It is that when he looks at his dog and it cuts to the close-up.
They don't talk about it. That's why it works. Is that they never have a conversation about it. And then he just sits there on a park bench, watches the duel, and drinks a soda. It's so good.
It's great. Yeah.
What did you like his reaction to John's kind of coup?
Oh, what's his reaction again? Remind me.
Oh, the whole movie stops and he just starts laughing. He has the reaction the audience has, basically, where like John didn't pull the trigger so that he could shoot the high table guy, and then they cut back to him and he just starts laughing. He drinks his drink and then he goes, "That was pretty freaking good." This is great.
Oh man, I love it when movies can comment on their quality without like coming off as like pompous. Like that was legitimately clever. And they knew it.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the thing that Shazam had.
Exactly. Yeah, I see. Here's a question I had. Did Mr. Nobody get his dog from Halle Berry? Because she has like a whole like squad of dogs. And,
yeah, I don't know. It was just an attack dog that he had trained really well.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. They didn't bring it up or anything. But that was like set up in the third movie. But they never mention it, so I was just curious.
Well, I feel like if he had, he would have had
a question to ask
Jarrell.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a question I would ask Jarrell if I got to have it.
Don't you feel like it's unlikely unless he's doing a lot of traveling though? Because where was she? Like Paris, or she's somewhere in Europe? I don't remember.
Yeah, she's over there.
We spend we go to a lot more locations in this one too, and I thought there were a lot in 3, but like we're everywhere in this. We're in Egypt, we're in Japan, we're in what's the European location this time? We're in Berlin. We're everywhere.
Yeah, we're in New York, of course, because it's John Wick. But like, yeah, no, it's suitably sprawling, and that's something that's kind of tricky because like this has its roots in just a very grounded action series, and it doesn't lose that identity, but it has just like opened up, movie by movie. Now
it's such a blend of genres this time. And I mean, like, they always had been to some degree, but, like, there's that whole noir section that we were talking about with the poker game that has a little bit of Bond in it, too, but, like, it's very noir all the way to the ceiling fan. And that was the coolest ceiling fan I've ever seen in a movie. And then with the like, I was looking at that ceiling fan too close. It had, like... It was like tilted, and it had like the pieces on the ends. It was like everything's elegant, even the ceiling fan, right? And then but you've got noir, and that or a neo noir, I guess, and then you've got it bookended with western. He's on a horse, and you get to the end, and he's got the high noon, the duel, and they've got the music that matches now, of course. And you got to do that, and then it's a Hong Kong action movie, and then it's still your mobster crime drama, and it's everything.
It's the John Wick series is there a genre of action that they haven't touched on? Because like I think they've done everything.
It's like, a little bit of everything,
and they've done it all like very with so much affection and innovation. And that's what I find like so like how many car chases have we gotten in this series? At no point do I feel like, whoa, we're just hitting the same beat of car chase from the last one. No, the car scene in this, I have no idea how they did it. Like it is so crazy, just conceptual.
All I know is you're not gonna put your lead actor in that kind of danger, even if he is Keanu Reeves and does a lot of his own stunts. I don't know how they did it. They've got him driving the car, doing a donut around a roundabout, like you said, and he's shooting a million guys while like I don't know how you shoot that. And the car chases were, like everything else, already really ambitious. And there's already some really amazing stuff, but like that's crazy. And just like, what do you even put the camera? Like, is there another car that's moving at the same? Is it an arm that's attached to the car? I don't know how any of that is done.
Oh my gosh! But it's like because it's like going back to like the mirror fight in number 2.
Yeah.
They famously said like, we're gonna put mirrors on the ceiling and floor and the walls. No one's done that before. And then when they were shooting it, they're like, oh, that's why no one's done it before, because you're just going to see the camera and stuff.
Well,
like, and they had to figure out how to do it that way. And so it's like, I'm just thinking like with the amount of like motion, it's like they're doing like a bunch of 360 cameras. It's like, how am I not seeing like the shadow of like the rig holding the camera? Like, how am I not like?
I mean, maybe they're taking it out in post, but it looks really good if they did.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that like artificial look that a lot of these things have, and like that was a legit wonder they did. Like I really like Kingsman, but the thing Kingsman did that kind of like it started like that in that church shootout scene. It's like the faux wonder where it's like they're kind of piecing it all together, and it's like I notice that like kind of digital shake where it like transitions shots.
Yeah, and the entirety of Birdman. And how do you make that movie without doing that? You have to.
Exactly. But like there's like this, like Atomic Blonde has a scene that's like that where it's really impressive, and then you start realizing, oh, they've strung this together. Like it's still impressive, but like
this clearly didn't have cuts.
It didn't. Like I don't know where you'd put it. Like there's the guy on fire who like runs away and then he comes back. Like
and how do you do that much in the way of pyrotechnics and on-set explosions? And because it's not just people shooting each other, it's people on fire. And there's a lot of people on fire in this movie.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then, by the way, him getting knocked down the steps, like that was like a Buster Keaton stunt. Like it's so like you're having such a good time watching it, and it's funny and like.
But it's also sad and visceral, and.
But you're not even like thinking about how dangerous that stunt is. Like that's a dangerous stunt.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I love the setups with gags like that where, and I mean not just gags, like just dramatically story wise, where we do a really good job of establishing stakes and how difficult the thing is going to be, and just the hurdles, and again the crucible, and we go, he's been and remember everything else he just went through, right? Mm-hmm. Like. I think he's already been shot once. I can't remember. And he gets to the steps, and he's told, you've got 138 steps or whatever it is. And he's got this look on his face like, Mother of God. Really? Now I got to do the damn Rocky thing, but with more steps than Rocky. And so he's... Sorry, I was just distracted by the fact that Shazam is in Philadelphia. The scene is in this movie, and he's going up the stairs, and he's taken out all these guys that have come because the radio told them that there's this huge amount of money for John Wick. That whole thing is so funny to me. And all the song choices are great. And there's like 3 of them. It keeps going. It turns into like a concert, and it should be too long, but it totally works. And I love the like. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. You get a close up of the DJ's mouth, but you never see her face, and I don't know why, but I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to like.
And I feel like I know that actress. I have to know. I feel like I must know that actress. She seems very familiar to me, but all I saw was her teeth.
It must have been like a Lupita Nyong'o or like some like A-list actress. Like, we're gonna get you, but we're only gonna see her mouth, and she would go, yes.
It'll be great.
So I love the sense of humor. Like this series has never lost its sense of humor, and like it has that really dry kind of kind of sense of humor about it, and even just in like little gags where he gets tumbled down the stairs, and then one guy just comes down sliding down the side. Like that's great.
The guy sitting next to me just goes, "Hey, that guy's really smart." Meanwhile, the only thing I noticed somebody in my theater for Shazam 2 say was half an hour in. I kid you not. I hear somebody just yell, "I hate this movie." I looked over at Jason and I said, did that guy really just say, "I hate this movie"? And he goes, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he said."
What part did you say that at?
I don't remember, but it was only half an hour in.
Wow.
We got a long way to go, pal.
Oh my god.
Pardon me. That was really funny. I forgot about that. I wanted to talk about the hilarious connections I found between these two movies.
Please do.
Well, Shazam 2 and John Wick 4 are both the ends of their franchises. But John Wick 4 did it on purpose, and Shazam 2 just pretended like it did. In kind of the same way, and then went, "Nope, psych, he's okay. We just resurrected him with Wonder Woman." Can you imagine if this movie had ended that way? Where, like, he's in his grave, and then somebody walks up and just pulls him out of his grave, and then gets, like, no dialogue, and then gets canceled.
They like nod at each other. Yeah.
I found myself, like, it was more awkward with Shazam, and we won't talk too much about this movie again, but it was more awkward with that, and also pardon the spoilers for anybody that's just listening to the John Wick portion. I just thought about that, but I can't imagine how small of a group of people is that. People that watch us listen to John Wick 4 are planning on seeing Shazam, haven't yet, even though it's 3 weeks out, so we're probably safe on this. But anyway, it was so much more awkward because I was thinking, oh, well, if they killed him here, that'd be really good because he's not going to get any more movies. Yeah. And then he'd get, it'd be at least, a definitive ending. You'd have like a like an actual resolution. I was like, well, there's no way they do that. And then they don't, and in the most crass possible way, you know, in bringing him back. And then with this, I was blindsided the other way. He's dead? No, are you sure though? Like, really? Anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. They're both the end of their franchises, or at least the end of the John Wick part. I realize there's going to be spinoffs, but
yeah, no, if this is the end, I hope it is. And I think rewatching them, I might have a fondness for like kind of the back half of 3, the first chunk of this more, kind of seeing the broader picture.
It felt like that last James Bond movie done just a tad better, because I liked that a lot. But I had the same experience with that where I really didn't think they'd kill him.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think I like this one a little bit more than that too.
That is a good movie, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they did a spectacular job with that, but this is just a notch above that. I also think this franchise is a notch above that franchise.
I would agree.
And not just because every movie is good, because that is not true with those. But
they don't have a Spectre, that's for sure.
Yeah, or even a Quantum of Solace, which is just kind of boring.
Yeah, no, I did not dig Quantum of Solace. What's funny, because like I would compare the first John Wick to Casino Royale. Like I think there is there's a video, right, comparing the John Wick series.
Which is because one is a guy like getting back in, and one is, you know, wet behind the ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were wanting to talk about like the whole kind of crucible thing that he goes through at the end.
Real quick before we do that, because I just had this thought, and it's important because it's one of the things that makes me respect this movie so much. It's not a trilogy, but they ended it.
Yeah.
Like, how freaking cool is that?
That's cool.
It's wonderful, and it feels so by design, and I don't know, and it wasn't exactly because at one point they thought about making 4 and 5 back to back, and it's possible that they were planning on killing him at the end of 5. I think it's more likely that they got to the end of this and said, no, this is the right place to end it. I think that's actually more likely.
That's likely. I also, first of all, remember when John Wick 4 and The Matrix 4 were supposed to come out the same weekend?
Wouldn't that have been really strange?
That would have been bizarre. It's also crazy that like The Matrix is over a year old. Like it's like almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, they came out ways apart.
I'm glad though. Like, I'm glad we got some time away from that. For those of us that actually saw that movie, like whether you liked it or not, because I actually like Matrix 4 fine. It's not great or anything, but Connor and I talked about that. It's a guilty pleasure, I guess, because I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't even see it as a guilty pleasure. I think it's legitimately an okay movie. But I'm glad we got some time away from it, because it would have been really weird seeing Keanu Reeves in a movie with Morpheus, but it's not Fishburne, the same weekend where he's with Fishburne. Like, I needed some time away from that.
Yeah, no, I get that. And, like, so...
But this is coming from a giant Matrix fan.
No, certainly, and a lot of people are. I remember when I was going to see... I don't know what... I was at the theater, though, and there was a poster for John Wick 4, and someone was like, how many of those things are they going to make?
Yeah.
And I had that thought as I was leaving the theater. I'm like, I guess they're ending it at 4. Like, it's going to be a quadrilogy. Hey, we need more stuff like that. End it where you're going to end it. You know, don't look for that special number.
There's so much integrity in that.
I agree. It's something you just don't like. How did the John Wick franchise end up being the thing with like so much integrity? It's like the logos at the top are like all these studios that I don't recognize or like only recognize in the capacity that like they make really kind of second tier work or like, you know, releases. And it's just like, they could have sold out at any point, you know, like it became a popular enough thing. They could have sold out, but they didn't.
And
like,
you kind of expect really that to happen, you know. This is what we wish every Netflix show that you like in the first season, and then it all goes downhill from there, you know, is like this is the obvious thing to say, and I know people have been kind of saying this since, especially the second one, but like especially now that there is apparently an ending to this, and it would be nuts if they came back at some point and they made me buy even the retconned bring it back, years or decades later kind of sequel where it's like, we're going to do that thing because it's popular and the studio won't stop harassing us about it, but you're going to...
Wick Resurrections.
But you're going to love it. Yeah, but it's not going to be, as like meta and gimmicky about it as Matrix was, because I don't think you could do that more than once. But so that would be nuts. But like, with especially the second movie, I'm sure a lot of people were saying, like, this is what Hollywood blockbusters need to look like take note. This is now what franchises need to look like.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool. Like the John Wick character concept is a very simple one, and they've smartly not overthought him or added too much to him.
No, he's a really simple guy.
And like the I don't know, like for me the temptation would be like a lot to be like, okay, we're doing an entire third movie. We got to add something here. And they didn't. Like the most like kind of retcon-y stuff they do is like not even retcon stuff. It's just like, oh, I know this person because I was an assassin, like the best of the best a long time ago. And that's how I can like get myself out of like...
Yeah, or like the Russian family stuff.
Yeah, and then like even in the second one, it's like, okay, I did it. I got my revenge. All right, you and I made a blood oath, and it's like, okay, but that's, I think 2 was able to get away with that because like, okay, we introduced this world. We now need an in for him to get back into the broader world that we didn't even see in the first one, and it's such a natural extension.
Yeah, and the other thing is you started with a premise where it's really easy to add things to his background and not make it look retcon-y. I mean, he's a guy who had a lot of history, who was supposed to be like the best, scariest assassin ever. He's clearly had a lot of adventures. How easy would it be at any point? Imagine John Wick as a TV show. It just wouldn't be that difficult to keep having people come in with markers. Oh crap, I forgot. This guy had this marker, and so he's going to make me go do this thing.
Right.
So, like, it's really baked into the premise. The premise starts as such a simple thing, and I think what's so genius about it is that the world keeps getting crazier, more complicated, more convoluted, but the character stays the same. And you're so right about that. And it's kind of like a twisted Batman thing, right? Where it's a guy who is not going to change, but sometimes kind of wants to. And he's got a little bit of that conflict again of like who am I really? Can I have a regular life? No, I can't. He keeps flirting with it. Like anytime Bruce Wayne decides to date a girl.
Right.
It's like the phantasm of it. But then at the end of this, it's not I'm gonna keep being Batman, it's I have to die. Like there's no other way around. And I love the give up the ghost of it.
Now that you mentioned that about Batman, I'm surprised we never gave John Wick like a love. I mean, I'm glad we didn't, but we never even gave him a love interest. Like I just figured
never
that
hinted
would be
at it, and
a thing like.
And you can't. Like the most you can do is have a girl kind of fall for him and flaunt herself at him, and he says, "Yeah, my wife is dead, but I'm still not." Like he's basically a ghost. He's decided he's a ghost. And I think the whole point is he was already that way when he lost his wife and was, again, subconsciously looking for an excuse to get back in. I think... Tell me if you agree. What do you think, just speculation, what do you think John Wick does in his empty house by himself if he's there 20 years without anything bringing him back into the assassin life?
I don't know.
One of two things happens. Oh, I'm sorry. Like if you don't know, I'll tell you mine. But what do you think if you have a thing?
I never thought about that. Like that was something I was kind of thinking about watching 3 and 4. Is like I had that thing you talk about where he needs to die because he hates killing. It's like he hates the one thing he's like amazing at, but outside of the thing he's amazing at, he has nothing. Like he doesn't really have a life. He doesn't want to be a part of this world. Like he kind of needs to die. Like that's where he's only going to find peace, right? But yeah, I never even really considered that.
Because the point I'm making is he's a ghost before he gets back in, and now he's really the boogeyman. They called him the boogeyman before. Now he really is, because he's like a grim reaper. He's a vengeful spirit, and when he's taken out everybody he thinks needs to be taken out, there's really nothing left for him to do. And when he says like I want to be free. I want my freedom. It's not to have any kind of a life. It's because he wants to die on his own terms. And that's what makes him endearing. That's what makes him compelling. Even though he's a killer, and you can't condone that. He's always got consequences. So he's never made the hero. I mean, that's what I love about this franchise. He's never really the hero, but there's this great catharsis that you always get with the best revenge thrillers that somehow they're able to carry all the way into 4 movies. So I think one of 2 things happens. If he doesn't get the dog, if his wife doesn't think to give him the dog, he commits suicide within about a month and a half.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Or he waits around longer and gets really sick of his kind of nothing life, and then he goes out and looks for a way back in. Maybe.
Oh, you think so?
Maybe. If he does get the dog keeps him alive until the dog dies.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the situation where that happens. It would definitely be a one bad day kind of thing where he's wanting to look for an excuse to get back in, try to find the way back in on his own terms, and that would probably lead to a lot of inner turmoil.
And again, maybe even subconsciously, the nice thing is the gas station thing could have easily happened at a lot of other places, because when you get to the end of 2 and all the phones ring, you realize there's a lot of people that know about this assassin life.
Mm-hmm. I have a funny story. It happened last night. So I'm at a rave, right? And everyone's all packed in like sardines, and just like this electronic music playing. And this girl, she holds up her phone, and it's the trailer for John Wick 4. And it was like, that's a cool movie. And I'm like, why are you watching the trailer for John Wick 4? And she's like, because it sounds like John Wick music. Like, I guess it does.
That's so weird.
So that happened.
We should probably address this. Robert says, I was bummed about Sharon's death, though, but it was nice to see Lance Reddick again. So obviously, R.I.P. really sad that he passed away, and I had that thought that I can't help but have sometimes where, I go into the theater and I'm like, wow, what are they going to do now that he's passed away? Because I'm thinking they're making 5 more of these, and then he passes, and then he gets killed in the movie. And I thought, well, for the sake of the, not to be crass, but for the sake of the filmmaking, I guess it's kind of fortuitous for them that they didn't have plans for this character. And then the lead character dies at the end, and none of it matters anyway.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It does kind of feel crass to think it, but it's kind of hard not to think about that, right? Like,
yeah. All I'm saying is, I guess it's really nice that character got an ending.
I guess I'm happy for Lance Reddick too, though. You know what I mean? Like, he was able, to not have that business, unfinished.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was sad to see him go that way also, but you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a real effective scene.
Yeah, we're establishing the new. How do you feel about the new bad guy played by Bill Skarsgård?
I thought he was great.
Yeah,
I thought he did a really good job.
I thought he was fine. It's interesting because like these John Wick movies, the main villains have always kind of been more like high table types. They don't really interact. They don't really get their hands dirty as much. And the secondary villains have always been super compelling to me. I guess like he's not really a villain, but what's his face, Donnie Yen in this movie. And then in the second one, Common was a really compelling villain in that movie. And his dynamic with John was interesting. And the bald guy from the third one, Zero, he's like a John Wick super fan. Like I liked all like
crazy.
It's all cool. Like I like that stuff. I don't even remember who like the main bad guy of the third one was. And I remember
it was that high table lady.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
She was really good too. No, I see what you're saying. They're not, but I'm not sure they're the characters that you're intended to most appreciate. And I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say formula, but it's kind of modeled after the way the first movie is handled, where like the kind of bratty kid who wants his bottle, not a compelling character exactly, not supposed to be. You want that guy to die, and the whole point of it is the world is changing in a bad way, and these kids don't appreciate the rules and why they're there and what came before, and they don't have a code, they don't have a reason for being. The high table guy here was a posh, sophisticated version of that kid.
Okay.
It's that again. He's entitled. He doesn't really stand for anything. There's no credibility ultimately. He sets up. He agrees to the duel only because he has to, because of the old rules, and he has this whole thing about how like the old is going away and we're replacing it with something better, and which basically just seems like anarchy to me. And then he tries to get all these assassins to go kill John Wick on his way there. Like he doesn't stand for anything. He's got no code.
Yeah.
He's a sophisticated version of that first bad guy. And I thought there's so much retread from the first movie that's handled in such a subtle way that you might never even realize that's what they're doing. Like I love how well it's bookended.
And as like to echo what you just said, like it subtly adds a sense of symmetry to it that you don't like. You can notice the elements of callbacks, and you don't necessarily pick it up as foreshadowing, like. And I think that's pretty classy.
We've got some super chats that don't have a great deal to do with what we're talking about right now, which is just why I haven't read them yet. Okay. We can go ahead and just knock those out real quick, and then we'll see if there's any other major stuff that we want to bring up about this movie. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could talk about, but we've been at it almost 3 hours.
Oh my word! Really?
Yes, because we spent too long on that first movie, which was not very good. Dubby, $4.99 super chat. I don't understand this. I guess it's a joke, and it's a joke I'm not really getting. He says, so happy to see Ben Affleck return to this franchise. When his character said, yeah, I'm thinking I'm living by night, my audience went pogger. I don't know what any of that means.
You got me.
So apologies. Thank you for the super chat. I don't understand that joke, but...
Say poggers? What
poggers? I don't know what that means either. Yeah.
Okay.
Senior Sticks, $2 super chat. Back to Shazam. We're done with Shazam. Did Shazam need Dwayne Johnson or a worm in glasses? No to the first thing, yes to the second thing, just because they set it up, and it's kind of weird if you don't do that. And I don't know. I mean, did it need it? I don't guess, except the movie wasn't great. I'm not saying the worm would have saved it necessarily, and I don't know that character, but...
Yeah. I think... Look, they could have made a good version of the movie they made. I just don't think they made the good version of it, so...
Senior Six again. Is this Mr. Nobody tied to Fast and the Furious? I'm sure not.
He doesn't look or sound a thing like Kurt Russell, so no.
Well, I'm sure what he means is it like a callback or something? And I'm sure it's not.
I think he's just joking. They both are named Mr. Nobody.
Okay, what haven't we hit, Connor, that you really want to talk about?
How do you feel about this? Like, so I know that we have like spin-offs supposedly coming. There's like Ballerina, I think is one of them that was.
So they've already shot that.
They've already shot it. Okay, I know it stars Ana de Armas.
That's a movie, not a show. I think a lot of people think it's a show, and it's set between 3 and 4, and they've shot it already. And Lance Reddick is in it, and shot all of his scenes, I'm sure.
And like so they've been talking about the Continental TV show for a while. I'm actually, now that this series is over, I think I am more open to spin-offs. Like with where we lay, the one concierge of the Japan or the Ogata Continental, and kind of leave her in a place where kind of feels like she has a character, and like in a way where it's not just wow, it's a cool part of this world. Like, do you think we're going to get a spinoff with her? Like, what kind of spinoffs do you see coming out of this movie?
Well, and John Ty just put in a $2 super chat and asked if we want one with Kane, so directly related to what we're talking about. Kane, I'm much more interested in than anything else. I think, like, I could really see that. There is kind of the concern about it just being more of the same, of course. Because, I mean, that character is certainly different from John Wick in that he's not revenge-driven in the same way, but it's still like, I got out of the life, I got brought back into the life because the High Table kind of owns us, even if they claim we're being allowed to leave. So now that he is, by the end, given his freedom, like, is that really going to stick? Oh, I'm sorry, real quick, because I had a huge point I meant to make earlier, and this just reminded me of that, and then we'll get back to this, but... Cool. I thought this was a tear down the system movie, and it was really cool and more sophisticated that it didn't end up going there. Nothing has changed by the end of this.
That's something I realized as it was like wrapping up. I was like, they say consequences.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I believe them, but I feel like I needed to watch the movie again to like really understand what was going, like what was important about this particular event as an ending.
Yeah.
They say nothing really changes.
I'm with you. Well, nothing changes in the sense that, like John doesn't take down the High Table. I mean, I thought the point of this movie was going to be he kills everybody in the High Table. I thought, like, you know, every act plot point was going to be he's taken out a couple more of them. You know what I mean? And we don't even meet them all.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, that's what I was thinking they might do with the fifth one is he only pretends to be dead so that he can, like, now that they think he's dead, he can have a little bit of, like, time to plan and scheme or whatever, and then just take them all out.
See, that's what I thought until I looked it up, and they've claimed at least they're not planning on, you know, doing another one, and that he really is supposed to be dead. But like, I wasn't totally sure just watching the movie. I thought it was somewhat ambiguous. Take Me Home could mean a couple of different things, and it could be that like Winston is the only one he's letting know that he's, you know, but then. He's so injured that I kind of appreciate that he succumbs to those injuries.
Yeah.
That's the big payoff that he can take all of that is, except not really by the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's why the shark jump kind of works for me.
Those bullets connecting looked painful. Like there was some very like compelling, like shocking, like when Donnie Yen gets shot right like down here, like that was the way the camera's like angled, like it, like the blood explodes into the camera, like it was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I thought that was like a John Wayne kind of move. Like we're talking about westerns, that he even thought of that. Now, to be fair, it's got to work out perfectly or he's totally screwed. So there's a little bit of luck involved, but we had a poker scene earlier. There's a little bit of that motif anyway of gambling. He doesn't shoot Donnie Yen, and he still has Donnie Yen, and he still has a shot left, like as far as the rules go. So the High Table guy walks up and he's like, you know, I claim whatever right, and then he shoots him, and I'm like, that is a John Wayne move. That's totally what like one of his characters would have done at the end of a Western. Like that's.
Oh, I gotta watch more John Wayne stuff. Oh,
I've seen just a little bit now, but yeah, that's pretty killer. But like think about everything that has to line up for that to work. It's like, what if what's his face? Why can't I think of the actor Lex Luthor? What if
Clancy Brown?
Yeah, what if Clancy Brown goes, wait a minute, he didn't shoot. You know, what if the High Table guy notices it?
Right.
You know, that could have happened.
Yeah. Well, we gotta even like getting him there in the first place, right? Like he didn't like we're kind of lucky he didn't like lose an arm or something, even getting there to begin with. Yeah, no, there's a lot of luck involved.
No, he gets really lucky, but also it's old school Hollywood in a way that it's really easy to give it all of that.
I would agree with that. Yeah. John Tyson in a super chat, and he said thoughts on the credit scene with Kane and Akira.
Yeah. So we gotta hold on. We're not there yet. We gotta get back and finish the spinoff talk. So because you were mentioning like other possible spinoffs and the Continental thing and all that. I don't know if you realize that the Continental spinoff is supposed to be set in the 70s. So
really?
that is a prequel series. Yeah, and I imagine it's recasting everybody.
I think so. Actually, there's something about the ending of this movie I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, sure.
And I wonder if the Continental thing is going to address that, where Ian McShane says like, "Sleep well, my son." I'm like, oh, is Winston John Wick's dad, or is that just like him speaking more figuratively?
No, I'm sure that's figurative.
Okay, I figured it might.
That would be a mistake.
That's why I was like, I don't know how I would feel about that. I mean, I guess it would make the sting of him sort of doing the heel turn in 3,
having to throw him off a building.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure about that.
That is a sort of soap opera direction I would not want it to go in.
Same.
And I also doubt if you get very much John Wick at all in that show, like even with a recast, because I wouldn't think you'd want to see a recast actor in that role too much.
I want to see a 12-year-old John Wick. Okay, it's like little kid dressed up in the Halloween costume.
I guess he would be like 12. I don't know. Well, and it's weird because early on with the talks of the Continental, I thought there was discussion that like occasionally you might see him, but then we found out it was a period piece, so I don't really know. But as far as like other spinoffs, if you did a thing with Donnie Yen's character teaming up with Mr. Nobody, that I'm interested in.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I wonder if like it's probably not going to happen, but like there are a lot of those places that we see that we don't really explore. They're just pieces of the world, like the ballerina thing that is getting a movie. But there's also like Halle Berry. There's like the kind of Russian family that he has to get back into the good graces with. In this, like that could be its own thing. I wonder how much is going to be spun out of these specific movies, and then if they're going to want to do like, they won't do this, but like eventually if they're going to want to do like stuff that's set in the John Wick world that we didn't even really see in the John Wick movies. I wonder like where the extent of this franchise goes.
Yeah, I don't want too much of a shared universe with this, honestly. At least in movies and shows. I think the smart thing to do would just be to take it to comics and just go to town.
Yeah,
and do as much there as you want to, because the stakes are not as high. If it sucks, it's whatever. You know what I mean? Right. But if it's great, then you get some more cool John Wick stuff. I would do it all in comics. And I'm okay with a little bit in the way of spinoffs. Like Robert Wilde is saying he doesn't need a John Wick prequel, and I'm hearing a lot of that. I'm very open to it.
Okay.
But when you get a really rich universe like this, it's easy to fall into the trap of I want to see a show about every possible nook and cranny of the thing, and we saw what happened with Phase 4 Marvel. Like I think we got to be careful about that. Now it's possible you wear kid gloves, you put the right people on it, and you're not just throwing out stuff to throw out stuff, and maybe you could have a lot of really good properties, but it's harder.
That's like one of those things where we got 4 really good movies. I just like, we never get this. Like, let's just keep it. So that's why I don't necessarily even
it's like the Breaking Bad thing, where like as soon as Better Call Saul was over, people immediately started throwing out ideas for more spinoffs, and I'm like, in prequels and stuff, and I'm like, you gotta be really careful about that. Like you're not gonna want to do too much of that, regardless of all of the possibilities of different areas of the universe. Like, maybe there's more things you could do, but like, you know what I want to see, Connor, from this? I want to see a movie called The Switchboard. The Switchboard. We have all the ladies with the tattoos and the piercings, and just their day to day. Like, we can get really goofy with this, right?
Yeah, the record people playing in Germany, just like spinning records. What's their life like?
Yeah, exactly.
You only ever see the actor's mouth, but that would be a little limiting after a while.
No, they should get really meta, and they should just make an actual radio show that's just her doing the Orson Welles thing, but on a daily basis, and just pretending like there's somebody in the street that you need to go kill right now.
Dude, I actually want that. That sounds awesome. Like serious.
That's the John Wick spin-off that Connor wants.
Dude, you should be in charge of that. Like you should make that happen. Like, you could pitch that. I think like that's like it's like a Spotify or like some kind of like podcast like.
Yeah, it's a Spotify podcast. Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be great. Or like
it's on.
YouTube's trying to get into podcasting. That's something you can pitch for YouTube. I don't know.
Well, HBO Max has been doing like radio plays, like Batman radio plays. Put it on Max, make it a radio play.
You're right. Or like that could be like a good fan project, right? Like a if you want to like kind of get big on like YouTube or whatever, someone could do that.
Somebody should do that. Yeah, I wouldn't do it on YouTube though because you'd have to use licensed music. There'd be no way around it. You'd want to you'd want to put it on Spotify, and just use it as a radio show that plays music, and just in between them, you're just like, okay, he's going up the stairs, go get him, and then
you're like painting out like the story of the world, like kind of in real time. Like there's something there.
There's something there.
That'd be cool.
Thanks, John Ty, $2 super chat. Like you said, thoughts on the credit scene with Kane and Akira. So I didn't think this would happen after credits. I didn't stick around, and I found out later that scene was there, and I was like, I don't know how you even feel about that, but I didn't see it.
I didn't even know about it till John Ty put in his super chat. Did you look up what happens in the post-credit scene? Or
yeah, it was just like I don't even remember what it was. It was just
okay.
Sharon,
the origin of the Continental's concierge.
Yeah, I think, Rise of the Bowery King, sure, that's another thing you could do. And honestly, that one I can't help but say I sort of want just because I don't like the Fishburne didn't get more screen time than he got. But with the Akira thing, I think the idea was just to say, like, he's out, but he's not out. Okay. And I don't know if we're trying to tease people with a possible spinoff with that character.
Maybe.
Or if it's more just to say, like, nobody ever really escapes it.
Yeah, and Akira is the concierge at Ogata, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, he killed her dad, and so I could definitely see like a sort of revenge story there where we like both of them. And it's a little interesting that we never had the character in one of these movies that John Wick killed their dad or something, and now they want revenge on John Wick. You know, like he accidentally sort of like was their origin story. So maybe that's their way of doing that kind of story in the John Wick series.
That's a good point. And yeah, that would be fairly different. Because it's like this guy, the tragedy of him is he's good at it like John Wick, but maybe he had a good life getting out. Maybe maybe he actually found himself getting out in a way that John Wick couldn't. And the sad thing is it's the opposite. He's not good at it, so he can't help but keep doing it. He's good at it, and people keep forcing him to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder how many other children he can't be with. In order for them to just keep doing it. I don't know if I have any more to say. Do you have any?
No, we're like right at 3 hours. Pardon me for the late night tonight, Connor.
It's okay. You know, I'm 2 hours behind you, so.
I was gonna say it's later for me right now. It's only 10 o'clock there.
Yeah. I was up pretty late last night, so I'm not too bad right now.
I adored this movie.
It's really good.
I was a happy camper, and like I said, I couldn't imagine it sticking the landing any better than it does because it ended, and I was like, oh my god, it ended. That's amazing. And yeah, like I said, I was blindsided in the right way. Like, it hit me wrong at first, where I was like, wait, what happened? Seriously? And then, like, it came together, it made sense, but I was like, because then suddenly I'm getting all the subtext from the previous scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I want to watch the movie again. I want to watch all these movies again. I wanted to watch through all of them before this, but I just didn't have the time for that.
I didn't do it either. And yeah, I kind of wish I had to. I'm gonna try to rewatch 2 and 3 before I go back to. I'll go back and see it in the theater again. I have to see that in the theater again.
Yeah, my brother's already seen it like twice in IMAX. I'm like, God, I'm jealous.
Well, and there's so much stuff coming out that we've got to review. It's gonna be really hard to get back to the theater for it.
Yeah, We're not gonna do Dungeons and Dragons, right?
I had not planned on it. Jason wanted to see that, ironically, and then people are saying it's kind of good, so that's weird, and I'm half curious about it. I think Austin's seeing it. I just don't see when I'm going to have time. If we do review it, it'll be at least 2 or 3 weeks after it came out. There's no way of doing it right away. Mario is this next week, and that I must front load. I have to see that as close to day one as possible. I'm excited about that. I don't want it to get too spoiled, and all my kids are stoked about that, and so we're going to go this week, and we'll review it Sunday. I'm kind of half taking off the channel the next couple weeks to write a movie, and I'm hoping I can get it done in those 2 weeks. I might need a third. I'm hoping not, but I'll be back for new movie reviews and possibly the occasional live show just to check in with folks. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, so we're gonna do Mario this week, and then if things go according to plan, my plan was the week after that to do the couple of biopics that are coming out, because I guess both are out now. Probably, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if Tetris is out yet.
Tetris is on Apple TV Plus right now, but Air is not out. I don't think
Air's not out yet. Okay. I just couldn't remember if Tetris had dropped. I knew Tetris was on streaming, but I didn't know if it had dropped yet. But yeah, we thought it would be really fun to do a double feature with those two movies, with Air and Tetris, because they're both biopics about technology that take place in the 80s, and it's such a weird, specific niche that happened at the same time. It's really weird.
Yeah. I'm excited for Air. I'm actually taking my dad to go see it, so that'll be fun.
I'm more excited for Tetris.
Oh, interesting.
Actually,
Ben Affleck is directing Air, which he's not directed a movie in forever. I think the last one he directed was like Live by Night, which was in 2016, which was like notoriously like kind of compromised due to his commitments to be playing Batman. So
that's unfortunate.
That's one of the major contributors, along with like his family life, to why he just wanted nothing to do with superhero movies now.
Did you see the basketball movie he made for HBO Max?
I did not. That was like one of those like movies that was like out right at the beginning of 2020 before theaters shut down, and it was on HBO Max for a long time. And I meant to get around to it, but I guess he just likes basketball. So I want to watch it before watching Air, just to get the full Ben Affleck basketball.
I saw it. It's depressing.
Oh yeah,
it's good. But he plays a super self-destructive character.
Oh, isn't like the character alcoholic in that movie?
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
And he's like as sympathetic as he possibly can be for a guy that is just not going to figure himself out. But like it's good. I think I got to the end of it and it was a little bit of a mixed bag. But I would recommend you see it.
Yeah, I do want to check it out.
It's a great performance, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I like Ben Affleck, so I was wanting to check it out for him as an actor, and it was on
I'm
my
superficial about basketball. Like I like basketball,
so
I was like, oh, Ben Affleck in a basketball movie. I guess I'm watching that. Yeah.
Yeah, Portland Trailblazers, let's go.
Oh.
I actually have a basketball story for when we talk about Air.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So stay tuned, folks.
Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and get going. Thanks a lot for being here, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our reviews, and we will see you again next week with Mario. We're not going to double feature that. We're going to need the whole time for that movie, and we may have a bigger panel. Jason will be here at least, possibly Austin as well, and Connor definitely. So we'll see you then, and in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and Connor, thanks for doing these with me, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's always a fun time.
Of course, buddy. See you later, folks.